DuBois County Board of Commissioners meeting. We have a quorum present with all three commissioners in attendance. And we'll start the meeting with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First up, we have the highway supervisor report.
Okay, spoke with a mail carrier the other day about a resident who's preparing to live along the dirt road. I guess it was a cabin that had belonged to his father, who has since passed away, and I believe he's planning on moving in and making this a residence. So I've got one page here that I wanted to share with you, where it says, this is County Road 990 North. And it goes east off of 900 east, okay? And go back in here, there's one home where, this is where the gravel terminates. There's somebody that lives back here, but the cabin is here. Now, he's already got his mailbox put up. I'm not sure if I believe he's living there now or sometime really soon. But when I spoke with the mail carrier, he is beginning to deliver mail here, and I think I talked about the possibility of wanting some gravel down through here. He hasn't formally made a request to me as of yet.
No words, no word.
No, I had a pretty good idea that would be on.
We're up here. Is that what you're talking, Steve?
Yeah,
So here's
actually,
66.
it's actually right in the center there. Yeah, right where it turns back up a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think it's Paul or Larry Farms.
Good chunk of property there with road running right through the middle of it.
While I was up there, I drove it. It's roughly 1,850 feet long. Before anything gets done, obviously there has to be some drainage done. There's really no ditches. It's just a road cut out.
There are any little spots or anything that are gonna be an issue.
Not too bad. I think, obviously on a dirt road, we don't have a lot of culverts there. So I think either, we just accentuate a low area for a little bit, to gravel it so the water can still cross. If we put a culvert there, and I would recommend something like a 15, so it doesn't fill with leaves or debris right away, then we're gonna have a whole lot of ditching, because of the depth of that culvert. So, now, wasn't gonna do anything yet until he made the formal request, but I think we had something like this back in 2018 in Columbia Township as well.
On the other end of that road.
Yes, on the backside,
On the other end of that road, yeah.
Okay, so it's that road. Yeah.
On the south end down here, this is up in here. I call it the Art Nordhoff Road.
Yes. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
She owns a lot of that
Is it
property.
near what you said, 900?
It's 990 north where this place is actually gonna be, the residence. I know he has to contact Craig to get a 911 address, so he has that all laid
Yeah,
out,
so
so
if you're.
that's not been done yet. And I think the way this works, in order for the county to gravel it, he has to show that he has been granted a homestead tax credit deduction. Therefore, we would put the gravel down, otherwise it would be up to him to do the improvements, so. As I said, I just wanted to put this out there. He hasn't made the formal request yet. Before anything does happen, we obviously need to go out there and get some drainage taken care of so the water can, get off the road better.
We're gonna require some right of way, like we would if we're doing
Not in this particular case.
on both sides, so I guess we could. If you want something from the county, maybe that would protect us in the future if we do a drainage issue. Or do you not think that's necessary?
Well, I think the way we did it with the last
What did we
one.
do 2 years ago?
Huh?
What did we do 2 years ago?
We allowed the improvement to happen at a substandard
Yeah.
rate, but however, if the road was to be improved and be widened, then the right of way would be necessary. But for right now, he's just, he's got a home back there, he just needs to access it, and this is one way in order for him to access it below the standard in order to utilize his property. If anything, if there's more people that go back there, all of a sudden we realize, hey, this road needs to be widened, and I think this particular place here, it's probably 10 foot at best in any place. It's not much wider. So it's just a way in and out for him. But anything beyond that would have to be a right-of-way dedication. That's what we did with the last one, so.
How did that work out as far as the maintenance of that section of the road, the last one?
It's worked out well. We gravelled it to get him back there, and we maintain it as a gravel road. If it needs some, we put some on there. It gets graded maybe a couple times a year, but it's not that often because there's not really that much traffic. I think the traffic kind of dictates how often we go back there to maintain, so.
I think we discussed last time, I asked you for right of way, but there were several homeowners in between that refused it.
Yeah.
There was at least one. I
And
remember that.
therefore, basically this guy would have to live on a dirt road if we didn't do something.
And I haven't checked it, but I believe it's probably gonna be the same case here as well, that there's other landowners through there that, may or may not complicate things, I don't know, but, I do
I just
know.
hate to see these single wide rock roads,
Well,
and more people continue to do this, and we can't make any improvements to them because we don't have the right of way to make the improvement.
Yeah.
So,
And-
kind of,
and we don't have, this is already gravel from 900, a mile back in there?
Probably not even that. I think if you get to the address just beforehand, there is a school bus turnaround right in, I believe it's in here,
Okay,
where it accesses the home to the south of the road.
yeah,
And I believe there's a widened area for the school bus to go in there because I think it's an older couple that is raising grandkids.
okay. My point is though, that it is gravel back to that point,
Right.
and we don't have right of way there.
No.
So, I don't know if that's an issue or not, but if we were to, from that point on, require right of way, we'd have two different standards in there.
I feel like it might be a benefit if the person making the request would give the right of way
At least on their particular, yeah.
on their property. And
Yeah.
then, hopefully if any further improvements need to be made, the other neighboring properties would get on board as well.
Mhm.
I just feel like if we keep doing this, we're gonna have more and more requests for it. And before you know it, we're gonna have, maybe dozens
Yeah.
of people living on single lane rock roads that are very hard to maintain because we have no right of way.
to the marks.
So
Probably.
what's it cost to put 1,850 feet times 10 feet of stone?
You're probably in the neighborhood of $3,000 to $5,000. And that's.
And the benefit is to a postman and a resident,
Or
and then I mean, maybe
emergency
2 other
services,
residents.
if an ambulance had to go back there, emergency services, that type of thing, something to think about, but I do think, that in a case where a road is being improved from its current state, that would be a good time to at least get it from that person who is requesting it.
I would support that. So if you get a formal request, I would support granting it. If it costs $3,000 to $5,000, if we get that right away, that's where I would be at.
I would agree. I think it just, if the homeowner's got to put a little skin in the game too, and it's not of any cost, actually, so.
Just right away from that homeowner,
Right.
which is a very limited distance, not very far at all. Prior to that is the Nordoff property. Just before that, it goes through the Nordoff
Okay,
property
is he on both sides or just this?
for a short distance.
Okay.
But over that ridge, it's somebody else. It's Werner. Over that ridge that runs through there that it opens up a little bit.
Yeah.
That's the Werner,
Okay,
Brandon Werner.
okay,
And then it goes through a little bit of the Nordoff property and then into the Marks property.
okay. Okay. Yeah, I don't know about the Warner,
I don't know either. The name sounds familiar, but I don't think I know it.
so. Well, if this comes in, and I'm sure it will, at some point, there'll be a request made, so I just wanted to get this out there so we were up to date on it, so. Last week I spoke with Brian Young about the setup of fueling the ambulances at the highway department. All we have to do is just simply create a new account for billing, and each vehicle would end up having its own card, and then that card would be shared amongst the various drivers who are running those things. I don't know if it's, every ambulance has its driver, or if there's multiple drivers per vehicle, but this keeps it simple. And each vehicle would end up having its own card, and due to the fact that fueling would be at any time, day or night, employees who are approved to fuel or for fuel access will be given a security code to allow entrance into the garage after hours. So he's going to give us a roster of those people and a roster of the ambulances that are going to have fuel, so we can get the card set up and everything ready to go. But at that point.
So Steve, I guess I would appreciate you getting with him. So do the two of you even know what this is about?
I heard a little bit of a discussion the other day about it. Yeah.
So I guess I wouldn't get too far ahead because we haven't gotten the budget back from, and I believe this is part of our negotiating, a component of our negotiating.
Okay.
In other words, currently they're taking that out of their budget. So if they ask us to pay them the same amount that we did last year and they want this, I think that's something we need to consider. So he had a couple cost savings ideas of getting rid of some phones, technology, and doing this possibly. But I would hate for us to say with 100% certainty, this is what we're gonna do, just in case. I guess for leverage or for negotiating sake, I just wanna make sure that we still have it on the table, that it's not a done deal. I think it should take the approval of this board, formal approval.
Okay.
But I appreciate what you're doing, but I don't wanna get it too far ahead. Just
Okay.
until we see what kind of budget they're gonna bring us. Does that make sense?
Okay, so
So
we're
it's-
gonna wait on this. We're gonna wait on this then.
Well, I think we'll probably end up doing it. I think it's a good idea, and I don't wanna, I'm not trying to waste your time, but just as the negotiations are ongoing, I just wouldn't want it to be 100% in stone or have them start doing it immediately without us knowing the other terms of the agreement. Because I don't want the county, the taxpayer, to be putting out another $60,000 and getting not getting some savings somewhere else, if that makes sense. Does that make sense to the board?
Yeah, make it part of the entire.
Compensation package that we're paying, yeah.
Okay.
Because right now we're paying a subsidy and then probably 10 other line items, and that's $400,000 a year. So if they request that same amount again this year, we'll say, well, what about these savings? We want to share in those savings.
Having said that, I don't think it's the same driver on the same machine, on the same ambulance all the time. I think they share that, don't they? I mean, various employees will drive that one ambulance at any given time.
Probably, yeah.
I would, yeah.
Is that comparable to any other, the sheriff, they all have their cars.
Yeah, health department, I believe, has shared vehicles, where many other employees use it to go out on runs. So health department's one example where every vehicle has its own card. The card is in that vehicle, and then whoever that person is driving it uses that card to fuel up, so.
So in this case, we're providing 7 cards, one for each vehicle, and then if you have unique passcodes to get in, those get tracked. I don't know if there's like when you scan in here at the building,
Yeah,
it'll track who it is, so yes, that way you would know.
it
which
will in
particular
there
driver.
also. Yeah, it will there also.
Yes,
But
okay.
basically to get in after hours.
Right,
Yeah, if they're fueling up, it's just gonna say ambulance number 7002 is being fueled up, and you're putting in 30 gallon of fuel that day, so. And it lists the time and the date and everything like that, so if they want to know who it was, they have an idea maybe when that vehicle was fueled up, and they can, tell who was on call or who was in that vehicle at that time, so. All their information is telling us is that ambulance number 7002 was fueled up that day, so. And then we know how to build that out.
but about the gate, when somebody comes in the gate, does that get tracked who it is, or just that they have a valid code?
Yeah, because every individual who is allowed access in there to get that fuel has to have their own security card, so we know who that person is, so
So it'll say
that could be tied into the other.
Joe Smith punched in, and then vehicle 7002 got gas.
Yeah.
Got it. I appreciate you working on that. I'm sorry if I wasn't super clear. I kind of wanted to get the conversation started, and I do think we'll get there. I think it's gonna be a good deal for the county and for the hospital. So thank you for working on that.
Okay.
Road paving plans?
Yeah, that's the thing I handed out to you there. If you go through, the roads that we're gonna try to target this year, not only with the, use of anticipated community crossings money, but also with highway money with MDH local roads, so. The top column is the hot mix overlay plan that we're looking at. The next one is surface treatments and seal coats. We have like an Aspen and Rejuve Tech, and then the CSOL is a chip seal overlay. And then, repair and maintenance, either where we're going out, and we're ripping up roads chip and seal roads that have, gotten bad. And, we're putting a new base underneath them and repaving those, so. That's kind of what we're looking at. The first page is basically a budget page, so we can see, where the funds are coming out of and what we have left and everything, so. But if you'll look back,
What does it look like, $3 million of spending?
roughly, so, yeah,
$3.3 million of spending on roads?
And then just to get an idea, if you go like under the District 1, 2, or 3 on that page, if you go back to the next page, in those respective districts, I have categories where all the townships are listed. And the roads that are on that group are roads that have services that are at least 10 years old or with Pacer ratings of 5 or less. The ones that are 5 or less are bolded on your sheet, so you can see that those are the ones that are target roads that we're looking at.
I want this one back to this year.
No, that's yours.
Okay.
Yeah. That's some chicken scratching I haven't done.
Okay, I didn't know if you needed.
No, it's fine. But anyhow, the bolded ones are ones that we've got our eye on and will be done when money is available. So if it's, they're not highlighted, so that's something that we're, considering pretty strongly next year with available money. So you can look through there in each of those respective townships and see the ones that we're targeting. And again, in all of these cases here, we are hitting, we're targeting the worst roads with the paving. There's a few of them here where we're doing the rejuvenators of the seal coats on some better roads to keep them good. Okay, we're trying to push that inevitable paving date out to make our money out of it. So, if you want some clearer discussion or want to sit down individually, we can. We're gonna try to do that this week or next week or whatever, but this is kind of what we're targeting right now. I think Brent is working on the paving projects, getting them ready to go for.
They're ready to go, we're just waiting on community crossings.
Yeah.
To see
So
what's awarded, what's not awarded.
Why were some 4s and 5s highlighted and others weren't? What was the reason for that again? Here's
Most
an
of those are probably traffic related.
Okay. It's like Kellerville, they had 330 North Kellerville is an 8, but it's highlighted. What does that mean?
That one there is gonna have, it's gonna have a rejuvenator on it. Because Kellerville is also gonna have a rejuvenator. And I think we did Kellerville from 400 north all the way to 56 right south this year. And 330 is that little main road on that, so we're gonna catch it while the equipment is.
While you're there, you're gonna pull down. Okay. So even though it's a decent quality road, it just makes sense to work.
Yeah. And if we do that, then, we're pushing that date out. I mean, it's in really good shape now, but,
Hell, we could buy it for 3, 4, 5 years or even more because there's just not that much traffic on it. Anybody has any questions? Otherwise, that's really all I got.
Anything else, Mr. Bird?
Nope.
Brent, you want to come on up?
Thank you.
Highway engineer report. Good morning.
tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay. Countywide bridge inspection for the next cycle, 2022 to 2025. We received 5 letters of interest from various consulting firms. American Structure Point is our current inspector, Lockmiller Group, HWC Engineering, Johnson Responds, and Butler Fairman Cypher. Steve, Ann, and myself all reviewed them and scored them. And based on our collective scores, we would like to recommend American Structure Point to receive it again this year for their second round. Here is the scoring breakdown. I don't know if this is my original, but I don't think that you guys don't have to look at it with our various scoring sheets. But that's how they scored based on our review.
This is a 4-year,
4-year cycle.
4-year cycle.
2022 to 2025.
And the firm before American Structure Point
Was Butler, correct.
And do I remember a conversation at that time that they had it twice, so we moved on to somebody else? Was that our decision?
That was ours. That was ours.
That was our decision, okay,
As far as NDOT's concerned, it could be the same consulting firm
forever.
forever. That's based on how the county sees it.
So Brent, in 2026, we will select someone not American Structure Point. That's been the history.
Yeah, they get it. DuBois County's always been two cycles a year out.
It probably makes sense if they could provide a better product because they're already here. They've worked on it recently. I don't have a problem with American Structure Point. They seem to have been doing a nice job so
They
far.
have, they've been very responsive, they were easy to work with.
Okay.
Commissioner Hostetter,
No, I'm good with American Structure Point.
Yep.
Commissioner Brown.
I am too.
Okay, I do probably need a formal.
I'll move that we accept American Structure Point to do the 2022 through 2025 countywide bridge inspection.
One second.
We have a first and a second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Greg, did you get a chance to review the overweight vehicle? Good, okay. All right, next thing, the overweight, oversized vehicle ordinance. We have, Greg and I had spoke, the best thing for us to do is to get it approved at a meeting and then advertise it, instead of advertising it and then having you guys approve it. So here's the final version. I have originals for you guys to sign. I have 2 copies, but I just want to make sure you guys have most up-to-date one in your hands, along with the application.
Did anything change with the application?
Nope. The application, the back 2 pages, what they are is pretty well a synopsis of the ordinance. I have the letter numbers on the ordinance or the numbers back there. So, for what carries.
15? If the other one was 14, this is probably 15.
Yeah, I didn't realize you're gonna have one in between. Yeah, we have to be 15.
We can make it whatever. Maybe you got another one coming.
Well, I already gave that other one, like this one, that I knew was coming today, I already wrote it down over there with this number. We
Yeah,
took a
so
list
this
of
will be
them, so that'll
15
be
if we.
15.
Okay.
It's gonna be out of order, but.
It's okay.
So, like I said, you guys are okay with it? You guys want to approve it? I have the original ready for signature.
So the approval will be based upon, or we could have any public comment or anything like that, or how?
It just has to be published.
That would be public, okay.
And that was added to the end of the ordinance, that the ordinance would become effective upon adoption in the proper, appropriate publication.
So it doesn't fall immediately today, it'll be several weeks.
I'll just need a copy of it so I can put it in there. I'm Word if you have it.
Okay, I can have it.
That way I can cut it in.
Mm-hmm. No problem.
You guys want to move on?
2021 dash
I'm doing it.
I'm prepared.
I make a motion that we accept ordinance number 15,
2021 dash 15.
2021-15, approving the DuBois County application to move oversized and overweight vehicles on county roads.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Is there any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay. The last thing I have is permission to hire, it's on your list, but the permission to hire a summer intern again this summer. I'm going to hire just one this year. She was from last year. I had 2 last year. One of them, Brad actually stole one of them from me, so I do have one. She wants to come back. Based on my workload, I think one's going to be, this year.
I'm in favor. Any other?
Yeah, I'm good, I'm good. With all that experience, she can do the work of 2.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
So you've already got a budget for it, you don't really need anything from us?
Just permission to hire.
I move that we grant permission to hire the summer intern to Mr. Whitehall.
I'll second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everything-
Anything else for Mr. Whitehall? All right, 8:30, Eric Smith, a subdivision exemption. Good morning.
Morning.
We're asking for a exemption to the subdivision ordinance policy. We're gonna require a master wholesale meter pit from Coast Lake Water. They require a 50 by 50 foot area. And I can show you where it's at. Another reason we're doing this is because Kevin Jamie's upgrading his turkey building and we need more water for that people. They're in peak demand on low pressure now. So the red square is what they want, and then Kevin said he would rather do the triangle, cut out any triangles on both sides of the meter pit, so we would have the whole meter pit. I think it's 21 acres, is what it comes out to. Where it would end up being this square here, this rectangle. We did one a few years ago with Schnellville. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I don't have a problem. So,
Wasn't that the time that I thought that's the time that we were doing the ordinance, wasn't it? We made it a certain size, and that's what he's wanting to accept you from, or?
He's bigger than by the looks of it, because the ordinance is,
200 square feet.
I think that's right, yeah. So he's
Which is okay for electric box or, telephone post, but you go with a pit that needs 50 by 50. That'll be a 4-inch meter in there.
it's not like you're trying to build a house, and it's gonna be set.
I think so, I'm not
Outside of the parameters of what we're trying to.
Yeah, it's outside what we're preventing.
You guys, you don't have any concern with it?
Not like this. That's what this is.
So something is there already?
No, we need to put a pit here.
Oh, you need to put one that's fresh. Okay, I was thinking that there was something there and you're
No, it's
acquiring new land and you're putting it in there.
Yeah, we just need an exemption so we can get this triangle.
So I assume this belongs, this is one of the Denny properties now.
Dingy Brothers, and then it will be transferred to Toka Lake Regional Water.
Again, similar to earlier, does the highway need any right of way or anything there, or do we have it?
Is that Ian's house right here?
This is the Dwayne.
Okay, now we're
We don't have it.
I don't have a problem with it overall, but if we can do a corner right of way, if there's any of that that can be done, we'll do it.
Du Bois plus the roof.
This, the nice part is with the pit being here, it's off, these triangles, really, we can't ask for a 30-foot center line in. I don't think we're even gonna be messing with that today.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's gonna be off so they can pull our truck.
If we would need right away, it wouldn't be an issue getting it.
So you'll have to have this survey drawn up, and I'd say, I'd be okay with doing the right of way and approving it, no problem here. But do we need to approve it now, or do we need to have it surveyed so we have something final to approve? Because right now, it's just a
I think
rectangle
you
on a
want
map.
a final version to approve and sign off.
The legal one said. But as far as the exception, we'll grant the exception based upon.
Yeah, first we're gonna do the survey. He said he just needed an
He just took away a intern, so.
Yeah, he just told me my interest.
Triangle.
Just have him survey, show the lines on a map, you can email it to me,
Okay.
I'll bring it to them and get it formally approved. and
Okay.
we can walk.
Good deal.
So I would say at this time you have informal board approval. We will do a formal approval once we see the completed survey.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Smith? That's it. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Sure.
Man, you are on the ball, I was ready to help you out, but you're already.
You don't need this third one, do you?
I don't need,
I just need,
I will get you a word copy.
and then I can cut and paste it
Yeah,
in.
this, you need a copy of this. That's why too, you and me. But I will get you a word copy.
Yes. I'm just gonna use this one for the, I guess I don't need this one now. Still makes sense.
I know.
Wanna throw it away?
This is what I'm gonna do, is I'm gonna scan this and put it in my file, and then I will get it advertised and I'll get you the
So you're advertising?
I will. That's my paper.
That's right. I have no money. My budget's zero.
Okay, we are a little ahead of schedule here, so we'll see if there's anything miscellaneous we can do to fill in the time until 8:45 when Mr. Merkel will be up. So we had a department head meeting last week at the 4-H Clover Pavilion. One of the items I mentioned to the group for their opinion was the possibility of the judicial center or a court building. It appeared that most of those in attendance were in favor of us moving forward with that. So it's something we can, maybe should still consider. I just wanted to get feedback from the board on where your appetite was for that, moving forward with that project.
I'm still for it. I think it'd be a good thing with our lack of office space and stuff. I think it'd be a good idea to move forward on.
So some of the opinions we had were that people are still on top of each other in the offices, so a lack of space, and another one was to keep all the idea that we had beginning back in 2017 in January, that having all the criminal justice people on the same footprint is convenient for those that are served.
No, I'm still in favor of the concept. I think I would like a review of the finances. You know, we now know what the bids are on the jail and the community corrections. Maybe review what the tax is going to bring in, the Justice Center tax is going to bring in, I forget what it's called,
Corrections and rehabilitation.
CNR, yeah, is going to bring in, what's available in other words, what financing is available, and we now have the plans. As I understand, we have plans of the, the construction plans are finished for the Justice Center, correct?
I wouldn't say they're complete, but they are well in progress.
Yeah.
And so the last time we had talked, we had I guess you could say the stakeholders were all involved, and they had some tweaks and some things we were still talking about, so it's not complete. but
They're
it's-
headed toward completion.
Yes,
They're headed toward, we've authorized to go ahead and complete those plans. We've
I
authorized.
think the board is authorized doing it, we haven't done it yet.
Yes, okay. So we ought to have a pretty good idea of what, the expectation on the cost would be.
No, I think that's a fine idea, and so right now we are having the bond sale, we were rated AA- by S&P last week for our bonds that are going to be sold for the financing of the current project, and we'll see, I guess we can see how that turns out, the bond sale, and I can ask our financial advisor to give us an update on projections for financing.
Mhm.
Does that sound like kind of what
Yeah,
you're thinking?
exactly. Can move forward.
Similarly, another consideration is the movement of the 911 communication center to the jail building. That would be another consideration to make. I know that one of the judges has been a strong proponent of that. It would make additional room for the health department that they sadly sorely need out there. And there is space available within the existing footprint of the current jail, so that's another consideration we need to make.
Okay, so it would be within the jail, not the Justice Center.
Correct. So if you're familiar with the plan where EMA would be, this would be so that was a jail pod, a current jail pod, or I don't know, block, I think is a correct term for it, a block there. And there's another block that juts out towards the hotel. That could be for 911. Then there's an additional one that could be used for trustee housing or rehabilitative housing in the future.
Okay.
So the goal currently is build the pod, everyone will go over there, and then we will backfill those other spaces where those rehabilitative services are available.
Okay.
So the sheriff is fine with using that space for this purpose. It would help the health department, it would give a modernized communication center to the 911 people. I just think it's just something to keep on the radar, and we'll, with the new 911 director in there soon, we can see what they think as well.
I was gonna say, has there been a conversation with him?
So let's keep that on the book. HR Director Marky Rhodes gave a presentation to those in attendance on the merit-based salary situation, and I think that went fine. So we did some trials with that last year, and I think it worked okay, and I think he's continuing to implement that. And finally, the other thing that I took from it was I asked those in attendance of department heads what their thoughts were on the situation with the COVID, with the pandemic, with the mask mandate, or what they thought the county should do in that. And it seemed to me that most were still fine with keeping the masks in county buildings like we have been doing. I had one comment about someone wanted us to remove the temperature kiosk because they said that in 8 months, not a single person has had a fever or has been out of, I think the assumption is that it's not working accurately, possibly, was this person's thought. My thought was, I like keeping it there because it at least, it's a reminder. When you walk in, that, I'm getting checked, I need to be cautious with what I'm doing. I don't want to carry a virus or something into the, so I'm okay with keeping it there at least for the time being. I don't know that it,
I question its effectiveness, because you can have a fever and not have COVID, you can have COVID and not have a fever. I think it's just a kind of feel good thing more than anything. I don't know that it really is very effective.
I don't know that it's accurate, but it makes me as a person coming in makes me think. I think that's about it. That I've been feeling bad, maybe I should go in. But I'm with you.
So I'm not opposed to getting rid of it or keeping it. Whatever.
All right, so we'll stop with that. Let's say we've got meeting minutes from the April 5th, 2021 regular meeting of the county commissioners. Does anyone have any changes to those meeting minutes? I move that we approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Motion carries. We have payroll. Has everyone had a chance to review the payroll?
Yes.
I move that we approve the payroll as presented.
Second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And finally, we have the voucher expense report, the claims against the county. I see nothing in need of revision. I'll move that we approve.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, let's ask Mr. Doug Merkel to come up with the Poco Lake Region Water and Sewer.
Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you.
How lucky, I guess, in the number of people that I was gonna have to apply. Would have been out on them.
Yeah, I'm the last thing you want.
I just want to take just a short couple minutes to talk about the Coca Lake Regional Water and Sewer District and the impact we have on DuBois County. You know, also trying to go around to other counties because we're in eight, 9 counties right now. So what's prompted this is the Indiana Finance Authority has talked to us about the grant money that's becoming available. And I know you guys have talked a little bit about it. It's too early to know exactly how that's going to pan out. But we would really like to be on the county's radar for assistance in any way we could get it. And one of the things the state is pushing is that if we apply for state grant money, that the local community support it as well. And so they're asking that you all would financially support it in some means. understand you might be looking at a commission to evaluate projects, but I would ask that you, that you consider us to come in and talk to the commission and share some of the projects. One specific project we have is a drying beds. We need new drying beds, additional drying beds at our water plant. It affects every customer we have. And that's about $1.5 million. 20% of that's $300,000. We're asking Crawford, Orange, and DuBois County to consider, if you get grant money and it's to be used for water or sewer infrastructure, that you consider $100,000 towards that project. We also have some sewer projects that I've listed there that might be considered later on. The drying beds are ready to go. The environmental work and everything's been done, so they're ready to go. We have a tank project in Orange County that we'll be asking Orange County to participate additionally on, but we've asked them to participate in the drying beds as well as Crawford County. So. But if we get to the sewer projects, we would like to see if DuBois County would consider. Again, it depends on what types of monies are available, but if you would consider that. The infrastructure that we're dealing with is 40 years old now. And, DuBois and Woodland Hills is all clay tile. We have a lot of infiltration. And, that creates issues. We would like to see about lining those. We have some sewer mains that need attention replacement. Those are some projects we would have down the road, again, depending on grant money that's available. The real reason I'm here is I would like to be on the top of the list as the grant money starts coming, at least for you guys to entertain it. And we've talked about it several times in our board meetings at work. And so if you guys would just keep us in mind. And I also wanted to take this opportunity to introduce you to what Patoka Lake does up there and, the impact we have on the local communities. I think it's an excellent utility I've been fortunate enough to be part of. And Elmer has been an excellent board member. We try really hard to serve the communities. And, so hopefully we can get support from the local communities on possibly grant money that becomes available. So if you guys have any questions? Main thing I would like is just that you consider us if you get a commission together or if grant money becomes available and it's to be used for water and sewer infrastructure, we could sure use some help.
So can you tell us a little further, Mr. Brahmas has shared some of the information about the sewer main replacement project or that upgrade, and I think you mentioned a little bit, is that where you're saying there's the old tile, or what are we looking at there?
We have two issues. We have a sewer main that comes from DuBois up to our sewer plant, and it was PVC. I don't know if it was faulty PVC or what, but it was put in 79 around then. And we have 2 to 3 leaks a year on that line, and, so it's really a problem. We replace sections, little pieces at a time, but we really need to replace that whole thing. Also for the community, Wabash is looking at expanding. David talked to us several times about possibly having the need for us to be able to handle more. So we think it would be beneficial for everybody if we could not only replace it, but upgrade it to size.
So what would you upgrade it with? What goes in the ground now? PVC, isn't it?
It's PVC. We would go to poly is what we would like to do. That way we would have the joints would be welded and it should eliminate any leaking. Part of the problem with the leaking, it's in a bottom and the ground's real sandy and moves a lot. We think that shifting is probably causing part of the PVC problem as well. We think if we went with a poly line, that it would eliminate all those needs or all those issues that we have.
How close is that component of the project to being ready? So the other one's shovel ready. What's it going to take to get the DuBois sewer main replacement moving?
That's a good question because I think the grant money is going to require environmental studies. And, we've heard a number tossed around like a year for an environmental study. So we're ready to go on it now. We're looking at trying to start replacing some of it. But we put it on hold, finding out that this grant money might be available because it would sure help our budget if we didn't have to try to use all the district's money on this replacement. But I would say a year for environmental study, so we could be ready maybe by end of next summer to start replacing.
I think Patoka Water and Sewer is one of the what do you call it, the unsung or the success stories of the past 40 years or so here in Du Bois County, and the amount of water that it has brought to the communities around, and sewer for that matter, in certain areas, not nearly the size of the water distribution, but certainly important as well. And as Doug pointed out, it is infrastructure that is, in many cases, is old. Some of it needs to be updated. Some of it needs to be expanded. The drying beds, as he talked about, is something we've talked about for quite a while.
Yes.
For quite a while. The tank in Orange County, we've talked about for a while. And then, of course, the sewer lines, as well as water lines. I mean, gosh, how many times have our crews going out over this winter repairing water lines? You get a break here or there. It seems like they're about 4 or 5 times a week sometimes, repairing water lines. So there's always going to be that expense. So if any of this money is available, and like you said, it'll be a little while till we figure out the process going forward. But I think they're a worthy recipient if there's anything like this that might be available.
Have they been working with the regional sewer or the?
I believe they've been in contact, you've been in contact with Clark Dietz, and we're working on a regional sewer district. I'm assuming you've had some conversations with them.
We have, the Indiana Finance Authority through Elmer contacted them, and they want to get involved in that project with grant money. Again, you know, he said the key is the local support, and the state would follow, so, but yeah, we're willing to work on it, whatever we can do. I don't know what makes sense, if it makes sense to bring it to Du Bois, to us, or if it makes sense to take it somewhere else on the Hayesville project. That's what the engineers will figure out. Yeah, we're willing to help any way we can. And throughout the county, you know, if there's places we can help, I mean, that's what we're here for. So
It'd
it
be
takes
great to
money.
be able to expand that service to the places in need.
And some of these things, talking about sewer lines and that sort of thing, some of these things may be driven by immediate necessity. In other words, IDM could get involved at any given time and say, this needs to be replaced now. This one you're talking about at Du Bois, for example, where you said we have like 3 leaks a year, and if that increases, IDM could easily get involved in that and force our hand on it.
Yeah, so if you would just keep us in mind as things move along, and we'd sure like an opportunity to talk to you more about it and see if you guys be willing to support us.
Thank you, Mr. Merkel. Anybody have anything else?
No? Thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
Let's just keep trying to fill our time here. So I do have an ongoing list of requests for the art money. I asked for volunteers for the committee. I have 3 people that have said that they would volunteer to be on the committee whenever that is set up.
Three people outside of the commissioners and the council.
Right. So, health department, the sheriff, and someone from the clerk's office gave some feedback, so possibly we could ask if they were interested in participating. All right, Mr. Mayor, do you have anything?
Is there a time, I mean, are we moving forward on getting that, committee put together, or what's the next step on that?
I guess at this point, I was continuing to make a list of the things people were asking for, I make a list of people that are interested, and then when, I still haven't heard any updates on when it's coming, or if there's been any additional guidance on how we could do it. So I guess I was holding on that. I'm happy to get them together, but I don't have much direction.
Well, and I didn't know if it'd be driven by us or by the council, as far as, putting this committee together, and it'll be a shared thing, I'm sure, but.
So which one of us is doing it? You said you were doing the cell phone policy, right? You're working on that.
Right.
And so is one of us gonna do this lead this ARC committee. Is that what the plan was? I don't recall if we had a
I don't
plan.
know if
I
we
don't
discussed
recall
that.
plans, well,
I don't know if we discussed that.
I don't mind doing it if, you take the next one.
I don't know what the next one is, I don't know what I'm signing up for, but.
Or you can have this one, I'll take the next one. You wanna gamble or do you want this one?
Yeah, that's fine.
We'll get with council president and, see what direction he wants to go with that. We can make some decisions.
Put it on there, right?
Is there going to have to be some action now before the money is actually comes into our
We
account?
will have to have an ordinance setting up the fund,
Establishing the fund
In
and
the
see what it
plan.
is.
Okay. And what does the plan mean?
what you kind of plan on doing with the money.
So there has to be something on paper?
I don't think it has to be a detail, it's just,
No,
you
just
plan
a
on doing,
Priority type list.
Right.
Categories, priorities, things of that nature, not necessarily percentages.
But something has to be put on paper, approved by us, approved by the council. I'm not sure who the final approval is.
I'd say the sooner that committee can start getting together, again, we've got an idea, a range of the dollars. The receipt date, Sandy, you said was,
I believe it's gonna be June 11th, somewhere around there.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I knew we had a little time to get this ordinance together, but we're still kind of waiting on some guidance.
But the plan, I think the committee's gonna have to sit down and come up with a plan. So, the sooner the better on that, I'd say.
A broad and strategic community plan.
And,
That's all it says.
That's what
That sounds right.
the Baker Tilly, seminar that we attended, they said just make it broad and, be strategic about the future of what we're doing here. Okay. Well, it looks like it is pretty close to 9 o'clock. We have a 2A Sanctuary County, discussion. Eric Yoakum, Tim Keish, and Sheriff Tom Feinhelger are on the agenda. So whoever would like to come up, please feel free to come up. Good morning. Good morning.
well,
Thank you.
I'll make my part short for you. I'd like to thank you guys for having me again. My name's Eric Yoakum. Since the last time we talked in the April 5th meeting, as you've seen, executive orders have been going through. This magazine ban that I just passed out last Thursday, it was first come through on 2019, and then the Senate has put it through on last Thursday. They have 25 of their Bernie Sanders and all them want to pass it. I don't know what you guys need to see from us to see that we are not the minority in this county. Yeah. But anyway, 64 to 80% of firearm fatalities are actually handguns. They're not even AR-15s or caused by high-capacity mags. And 2/3 of those, according to IUPUI, are actually suicides by low-caliber handguns, 22s, 38s, 25 HDP. And, you know, another thing that I'd like to talk about is this weekend just totally changed what I wanted to say. FedEx, you know, obviously there was a shooting at FedEx in Indianapolis, a gun-free zone. There was nothing that was going to stop that. And then at the same time, there was a shooting in Indianapolis again at Walmart. But it was stopped by a civilian that carried. Good people can stop the bad people. And restricting gun laws, all it does is hurt the good people. If you look at the last few pages that I gave you, there's a story from a young girl who was involved in a school shooting. I've been talking to her, and she wrote this just for us. She tells her story of how the gunman entered her school in Santa Clarita, California, His gun jammed. It was a homemade gun. His gun jammed, and if there was somebody there that had a firearm, they could have stopped him. Lives would have been saved. Children wouldn't have been injured. We're fortunate enough to where we have resource officers that go from our schools, and they go from school to school to check on our students. These people didn't, because they're, once again, gun-free zones, and they believe it so much that they don't even have officers there. And I believe her story she heard, but in the back, she does. I just want you guys to read on that. She discusses how now she's a 2A advocate, and other kids her age are too. She's 17 now. She's a senior at her school, and you just can't, you guys just, you can't make this stuff up. There was watered down statistics last time somebody was here, and you guys gave us a minute to rebuttal, which none of us did. But, you know, the people that committed that atrocity in Colorado, that was an Islamic extremist with mental health problems. And mental health, they said 3 to 4% of people have mental health, but if 2/3 of the fatalities committed are suicide, well, is that not a mental health issue? That's really all I have to say. I'm gonna pass it off to Tim Kaish. I just get it on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning. Morning. My name's Timothy Kaish. I'm the president of Kaish Blast here in Jasper. Lifelong resident of DuBois County. My business allows me to travel pretty much all over the state. We're doing schools, we're doing government buildings everywhere. And one thing I never travel without is my Glock handgun right down in the console of my truck. I do leave it locked out there whenever I go on school premises, obviously, because everybody knows that's the law. I follow the law, but I am always protected. I go to schools in Indianapolis where you have to go through metal detectors to get into the school. Every student, every teacher, every person enters. That's just for starters, but that, you know, that is for me to keep myself safe. Eric called me. I've known him for a long time. We both are gun enthusiasts. I always have been since I got a BB gun when I was in 4th grade. So, but I just wanted to talk quickly on the Second Amendment. You know, the Second Amendment to keep and bear arms was given to us by God. It was not given to us by the founders of the Constitution. We have always had that right, and the Constitution was just a way for us to spell out to the federal government what shall not be infringed. The Second Amendment was not written about hunting. It wasn't only written for the purpose of self-protection. It was written so the citizens could protect ourselves from an overreaching government, which, in my opinion, is happening right now. They are taking our rights away by a guy that can just sign a piece of paper and it's gone. At the last meeting, it was reported that, you know, a member said, we have already sworn an oath to the Constitution. He thought that that was good enough, that a sanctuary resolution was unnecessary. I would like to say that the President of the United States and also every member of Congress took that oath also. And once again, I don't believe they're following it. So we're simply asking the county council to assure all of its residents that they, you know, nor any of their employees will help assist the federal government in anything unconstitutional, including firearm seizures or magazine bans and such. A vote for the Dubois County Sanctuary Resolution, it's symbolic. It has basically no legal force. Everybody knows that. But I feel that's precisely the point. If voted yes, that adds us to many counties and many states. I believe close to 20 states now have a sanctuary. So at least in the minimum, it might get somebody in Washington, D.C. to look at what the American people think. Because I think a lot of them don't really care what any of the citizens think. It's all about whoever got them elected and what they want to support and what they have to do to keep the money rolling in so they can get reelected again. However, I feel it's my duty as a citizen to protect my rights and also, if need be, raise money and support people who will fully support the Constitution and not just give it lip service. So when the President of the United States, can sign an executive order overnight that would make me a felon just because I have legally bought an AR-15, that scares the hell out of me. And Biden has already said that no amendment to the Constitution is absolute, talking specifically about the Second Amendment. So these gun restrictions and laws, in my opinion, are only criminalizing law-abiding citizens. It's not going to affect the next mentally deranged shooter. It's not going to stop any gangbanger from spraying all over the place and hitting people indiscriminately. Because as we know, criminals don't follow the law. I used to kind of be an outlier with my guns and going shooting and things. I know people my age that have never owned a gun that are now calling me, and their whole families have bought them. 3 brothers or whatever, and they want to go out shooting. There are way, way more people, I believe, that have guns than anybody here really knows. Just because people don't talk about it. But the majority of those guns that every one of them bought was an AR-15. An AR-15 is definitely not an assault rifle. It's a regular rifle. The reason the AR is Armalite Rifle. That's the name of the manufacturer, and it's Model 15. So it has nothing to do with an automatic rifle or an assault rifle. Another thing that Eric talked about was the high-capacity magazine bans. If the federal government pushes that through and they follow California's lead, that would mean a 10-round capacity magazine. So instantly, the majority of every one of my guns is illegal, from a pistol to a rifle to a hunting rifle. All illegal, right there. And these are guns that I bought at Jeff Bates or Dave's, legally, passed a federal background check. Now all of a sudden, boom, I'm a felon. So that's what I'm saying. Where does all of this get us? All they have to do in Washington, D.C. is pass a law or pass an executive order, and 50% of the people in the United States are felons unless they give their guns in. Nobody wants to see a time whenever the sheriffs have to come to somebody's house and try to take their guns, because I can tell you I would have a really hard time giving mine up also, because that right was given to me by God, not by a sheriff, not by the county council, not by Washington, D.C. Lastly, like I said, the thing that I think the sanctuary will do, it's going to add us to that ever-growing list. In the United States, I believe 39% of the counties right now in all of the United States are a sanctuary county. The states have gone up, I know, since the last time they were here, I think from 14 to 20 states. So everybody's passing it. And once again, in the overall scheme of things, nobody's doing anything that enacts any law. It's just saying that we aren't gonna go along with anything that we feel goes against our constitutional rights. So that's really all I have to say, and now I guess Sheriff Kleinhoff would like to talk. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning, guys. I promise I won't keep you long. I think Mr. Keich said about everything that I needed to say. And when I sat in here last month and I listened to it, if you just break it down, I think whatever was talked about last month, the rebuttals and even some of the stuff this morning, sometimes it muddies the waters a little bit. And if you look at just what the resolution said that you read, Mr. Blessinger, it just states that we believe in our Second Amendment. We did take an oath, and I took the same oath. And I feel that it's vital that we send a message, something like Commissioner Hofstadter said, is we're sending a message to the state that, hey, Du Bois County believes in the Second Amendment. And it just reaffirms that. And I support the Second Amendment. I support this resolution. If my name was on there to sign it, I would be honored to sign that resolution, stating as a sheriff that I support that Second Amendment. So I hope you reconsider what you did last month and sign Du Bois County to be a Second Amendment sanctuary county. Thank you.
Thank you. Suzanne, you just asked for
I think we have to look at it,
so there's just a gap. If somebody.
because that one we have to keep that you did not pass it.
Right. Any comments from board members?
I believe last month at our last meeting, I stated everything I needed to state. I support this to a sanctuary. I support our Second Amendment as well as all our other amendments. And I think this message needs to be sent to the state and to the federal government that we believe in our Second Amendment rights.
Well, like Nick, I think I said everything I need to say at the last meeting as well. I am still opposed to labeling Du Bois County in a way that divides us. I really think it divides us. I think everybody has a right to their opinion, and I respect those rights. So I don't want to put a label on Du Bois County.
Early this morning, Commissioner Hofstadter gave us some additional reading material about what a different county in Indiana has done. It's a copy of Esco County. And I'm gonna take that and read that, and we can maybe talk about it again. But I don't know that there's any action we need to take today, or I won't move for any action today. I want to review this and see if this is something maybe that maybe I would feel better about. And just for those in attendance or anyone listening, it was what they've done in their county was something, it's called Ordinance Regarding the Protection of Rights under the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Indiana. In other words, it kind of goes to what we discussed, not the last meeting, but probably previous to that, that when someone brought up the idea of being a Second Amendment county, one of my comments was, well, do we need to have an ordinance for a First Amendment county, or Third Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment? Where does it stop? Because we support all of these amendments. I think this kind of alludes to that a little further, just saying, again, it reaffirms what we've already sworn to do, but it's something that at least I want to look at and consider. So that's what I'll do before the next meeting. So it looks like we're on to our next item. Vote center information.
Morning.
Morning.
I'm Amy Kimbrough, County Clerk. I'm here to talk about a vote center plan. I feel like I've talked to each individual one of you, along with many other elected officials, about a vote center. So the election board met a little more than a week ago and discussed the idea of Du Bois County becoming a vote center county. What that simply means is any voter could vote at any location on election day. That would be the one thing that's different for us. So today, we're a precinct-specific county, and that means you must vote at your precinct location on election day. I took to the election board that I think we should be a vote center to make it more convenient for voters. The number one question we get on election day in the election office is, where do I have to go vote? And why can't I go vote over here when I take my parents to vote, or when I drop my kids off at school, or any number of things? I feel like it would be a huge plus to those that want that convenience factor. So I brought it to the election board, and they agreed to form a study committee that will draft a plan. The state lays out many different things that we have to do to accomplish being a vote center county, and so they're gonna meet in the middle of May. We have a tentative date set that study committee will meet. They will discuss that entire draft plan. The things that are unanswered questions of putting that plan together today is locations and how do we talk to the voter. So locations, it's my opinion that we have a great footprint and we keep our current locations. There is, we voted at the Habig Center this past election cycle, and the Habig Center was very accommodating. It's a great place for us to vote, but outside of a pandemic schedule, it doesn't really work for them if we come back and interrupt their Tuesday schedule. So they've asked that if there's another option for us to go to, please go there instead of coming back to them. So we have to discuss locations anyway. So as we think about becoming a vote center, that's part of the conversation. I know that election board members we've had many discussions on what we think we should have and what we don't need to have, and that's where this study committee really comes together as a group and discusses any concerns. At the election board meeting the other week, it was brought up that Jasper Middle School has their traffic flow is different now because of their new elementary school out on the north side of town. And is that really the best place for us to vote? So things like that get discussed as well. So the reason I'm here and telling you all about it officially in this meeting is to let you know that this is happening. So you know when people come and ask you questions, you know what's really going on in these meetings and what are we trying to accomplish. It's really just about making it more convenient for the voter. I have reached out and I'm on the agenda for all the city and town councils. I've already hit a couple of them. Becky Beckman is on the council and she is joining our study committee and she's going with me to those council meetings. It's really just putting information out there so everybody that could be affected by this, that has questions, has an opportunity to ask and kind of get that information flowing so those that they represent in their city to towns can kind of know where to go to ask questions if they come up. So the other thing that I'm here to ask for is I'm looking for a volunteer from your group to join our study committee.
Now you know what's next.
There's always something that I want, right? So the commitment really is 1 to 3 meetings, 1 or 2 hour long meetings over the next 3 months or so. It's really undetermined how many meetings we'll need. If the first meeting goes great, we can put together, if we all agree and think that we have something to present to the election board, then that's the idea.
That'll probably be a less of a commitment than spending $8 million.
Yeah, I think Mike Gamble paid off.
This would be something I'd have an interest in. It's your turn.
We'll take more than one volunteer. If you all want to participate, we'll take you. But it's really made up of the election board, party chairs, commission, council, poll workers. We've got 3 or 4 poll workers that maybe are not elected officials, just to gauge where it matters throughout the county. Yeah.
What's the reason to not do it? Is there?
If it's your time, I don't know. To not be a part of the study committee or
No,
not to
not
do
to
so?
vote centers. What is there to discuss? I don't know why this would be
A lengthy process. Locations is the biggest conversation
I
on
didn't know
this
if I was
topic.
missing something from the public where they would say, no, I like the tradition of voting in St. Mary's or. Okay.
Traditionally, the vote center's idea is that you lower your location so you save money,
Mhm.
and then you open the convenience factor for the voters to go anywhere.
But that's not our plan.
That's not my suggestion, no.
That's what I was gonna say, and the conversation Amy and I had early on this, when she saw the input from us at that point, was that was one of my first questions. Are we gonna lower the number of voting locations? I think vote centers get a bad rap because of the image that it has. Oh, we're now going to have one big location in Du Bois County where everybody has to come to that location in Du Bois County to vote. And, you know, as long as we keep, what do we have, 10
We
now?
have 10 today.
We have 10 today. As long as we keep 10 sites, now granted, as facilities no longer are available, or as facilities become available, those 10 sites may change a little bit,
So I
but,
think,
but the number is still there. And we've got it's just as convenient to go to Holland or to go to Huntingburg or to go to Ferdinand, to vote. The fact that you can go to any one of those is a benefit. You're exactly right. It's a benefit.
I see what you're saying though. If I lived at St. Henry and I'm used to voting in St. Henry, I remember there used to be, I don't know, is it still there? You know, if I now had to go into town, I can see that'd be a problem, but I don't see that here. You're right.
There's lots of data that goes into and that I'll present to the study committee to think about and to discuss. But by the way the statute is written, we are required to have one vote location per 10,000 people. So the minimum that the county could have is 4. But that is not the suggestion. That is not in the realm of the conversation. It is in the realm of the conversation of there's a election board member that would like to see us have 2 less voting locations. Again, I think that all conversations should be on the table to discuss why is that important and where is it beneficial and how does it help us if we have a reduced number. We do an excellent job of early voting in this county. When you mentioned St. Henry, they're the perfect example. We have a roaming board the week before the election because prior years we had more voting locations and people feel like we took their location away from them. So we do that roaming board. That's been set up long before I was around, and it works really well for us. So I think we'll learn what's best for us through this study committee and see if this vote center thing is really the right place to go.
Yeah.
So,
And those roaming boards, I know I was on the commissioner board here when that was established, and I think it's been a good thing.
yes,
I mean, yes, again, you mentioned St. Henry. You know, I don't know that any particular person in St. Henry was upset by the fact that they were losing their polling location on election day, but they might have been. So now they have Tuesday, or they have Wednesday, or they have of the previous week, to where we will be there at their site. And we've got, what,
And we have-
4 or 5 of those?
we have 5 locations. We do it Monday through Friday the week before. And you know, that's really one of the other big things that we hear about is, you know, we used to vote at the Bird's Eye Fire Station and you took that away from us and now we have to go to St. Anthony or we have to go. I mean, people are passionate about where they want to vote and where they have voted at. I think it's important to listen to all pieces of the conversation. Knowing I'm married to St. Henry guy, I can name 10 people that are upset about not voting on election day in St. Henry. But they appreciate the fact that we have the roaming board, those that utilize the early voting locations, like those are important things. So again, just the convenience factor, that roaming board is not mandated. We exceed the minimum by far what our early voting options are. And again, it drives to voter convenience in my mind. And that's what my goal is. So to pass a vote center plan, the election board must pass it unanimously. There's several steps to get there. This vote center is one of them. Again, I'd like one of you to be a member of that committee. I'll come back after that committee meets and they form a draft plan, and then you will have to pass a resolution that you would support this vote center. Commissioners have to do that, the council has to do that, and then the election board would then have to pass that draft plan as their final plan, and we'd have to submit it to the state. There is a couple public hearings that have to happen on that draft plan. Once we get a couple resolutions, we can move forward to public meetings. Like, there are several things we have to do. Again, it could take 60, 90 days or 6 months. It's my opinion, if we accomplish this year, then we'll know what we're doing for next year's voting election cycle. So if any one of you would like me to write your name down today, I'd take your name for that study committee. Perfect. Thank you, Nick. Do you have any questions?
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Commissioner Hofstadter, do you have, any miscellaneous side? Mr. Brown?
No, I don't think so.
What about from, the county attorney?
No, I'm on for later on.
Right, you're on
That's the
the
only thing I had, so.
And county auditor?
I think I'm gonna let Mr. Costa.
Well, looks like we are ahead of schedule just a couple minutes, but we will ask Josh Elliott, Globe Life Family Heritage Insurance, come up. Morning.
Morning, guys. You have to give me some grace today. I've never done anything like this before. I don't got anything as important as the Second Amendment or voting rights to talk about. So. I think that my name was mentioned in the last meeting you guys had. I met with Marky Rhodes and Steve Berg at the Highway Department, trying to basically just have the ability to go into different county departments and do my pitch. And I didn't realize that I went down the wrong avenue to do that, so I do apologize to you guys. Wasn't trying to step on any toes. I just don't know what I'm doing as far as working with county governments. So what I wanted to do is come in, I'm gonna pass out some papers for you real quick. This is just a general handout that I give to any business that I work with. Just to kind of give a breakdown of what we do with Family Heritage. And in a nutshell, it's supplemental insurance. So I think you guys are probably familiar with supplemental insurance, correct?
Yes.
So I don't need to explain all that. So I know you guys offer a couple of different companies. I think you offer Aflac, and I think there was a few more mentioned for supplemental insurance. We work in the same vein as that, giving cash directly to the employees if they're going through something that's going to put them out of work or something along those lines. We have 3 major policies that we work with. Cancer policies are by far our best sellers, and then we have a heart attack and stroke policy and an accidental injury policy. The major thing that sets us apart from companies like Aflac and Colonial and all of our competitors is we do what's called return of premium. That's basically just getting all your money back. It's a 25-year period, but if you have your policy for 25 years, we give you all the money back that you put into it, minus any claims that we put out. So as long as you keep your policy, there's no way to lose money with these plans. I would like to real briefly just run through some of the actual benefits of our cancer policy because it is our top seller. We have 4 different levels of coverage. We have a base policy, standard, preferred, and elite. I'm going to read numbers off the elite policy. That's, of course, the most expensive one, but the coverage is pretty great. If you're diagnosed with any sort of cancer, we give you $6,000 up front. If you're in the hospital due to cancer, we give you $800 a day, and there's no lifetime limits on that. So I'm not real familiar with a lot of our competitors' policies, but I know some different companies out there have like maybe like a $50,000 cap or something along those lines. We don't do that. We also pay up to $24,000 for any kind of surgery you have related to cancer. We have $480 per day of chemo or radiation treatment. They'll pay for wellness benefits if you're going to do pap smears, mammograms, colonoscopies, things of that nature. They'll give you up to $240 per person that's covered to do that. And then they also pay for traveling. If you have to travel more than 80 miles from home to be treated, then they're going to pay you 60 cents a mile or $2,500 for a plane, train, or bus ticket. So that's just a breakdown of some of our major benefits and policies. Of course, there's a few more in there, but I didn't want to bore you too much. Another great thing about working with us is we don't go through your payroll. It doesn't cost the county any money. The way that I work is I'll go to a department and do a group presentation or meet with each employee one-on-one. If they like it, they sign up through me. They foot the bill. It's just another option that you guys can provide. I did get a chance to meet with Tom and some of the guys at the sheriff's department, and general consensus I got there is that they just wanted more options. So I don't want to speak for them or name any names, but I did hear a few people saying that they just wanted more options as far as their supplemental insurance goes. So that's why I was excited to come in here today and get a chance to talk with you real briefly. I don't know if there's anything else that's kind of the end of what I got here. I don't know if you guys have any questions or concerns or. Anything you wanna ask me that I didn't touch on? You good?
I think I'm good.
When you meet with employees, when you go to a department and meet with employees, are you doing that before work or after work, or when do you do that?
So I've done it different ways depending on the business that I'm working with. If I have the way that I work, anytime I go to a new business, I'll talk to the employee or the manager or the owner or whoever's in charge of that facility. Which is why when I first started this, I went to talk to Marky. I thought he was the guy that was in charge of that. And then I went to talk to Steve Berg at the highway department. So I always try to talk to the person in charge first, and then I'll arrange that with them. If they don't want me to do it on work time, then I'll meet up with any employee that is interested before or after work. Or a lot of times I'll do a group presentation that usually takes about 5 to 8 minutes. And then that's just basic information about what I do. And then I'll pass out some sheets to get personal information from the employees. They can fill it out if they're interested in getting more information. And then I'll call them afterwards to set an appointment outside of work. So I'm pretty flexible with that. I know some people don't want it to be on the job time, and I can definitely work with that. I do live here in Jasper, so I'm pretty flexible as far as, to meet people at different times.
Okay.
So Sandy, historically, county commissioners would, I know at one time we had additional vendors and more vendors, and we pared that back. Or just simplicity's sake of payroll, is that what the reason?
Well, this would not be payroll deducted,
Right,
so,
but is that the reason we pared that?
yes,
Historically?
because believe it or not, it takes time to manage all those premiums and all those deductions.
Sure, absolutely. That's part of my sales pitch too. Whenever I'm working with a new business, I tell them I don't go through the payroll, so you don't have to do all that work.
Now, the only thing that I told him earlier when we met was, it concerns me, he sells a cancer policy and we have a cancer policy, then our number goes down because they switched to him, and then people want to drop in the middle of the year. They can't do that until open enrollment or without a family change of status.
Right.
And then what if our numbers go down and we don't have enough to keep the program we have? Then we lose that as well.
We have to have so many
certain
covered
numbers.
lives.
We have to have so many, yes, to keep our programs at what they are. So those are just things to consider.
I can address that real briefly. I do have several businesses that I work with that offer both. I'm not one to go into a company and try to get everybody there to cancel their Aflac policies. Aflac's a great company. I did talk to a gentleman at the sheriff's department who, I believe his wife had cancer, and he said Aflac took real good care of them. I'm not trying to get anybody to cancel their Aflac. I just want them to have their options. If they think that our policy benefits them better and makes more sense for them, then they can make that decision.
I agree, but if we have everybody drop ours, or we get down to 1 or 2, then we can't provide it.
And I understand that. Historically, with the businesses that I work with that offer both, I haven't had enough people drop their Aflac to where they can't offer it anymore. I wish I could tell you otherwise, honestly. That'd be great for me if everybody thought our policies were that much better than Aflac. But
I'm just trying to,
yeah. But one thing I can say is I've even got I've got businesses that offer both. I have clients that have both policies. That's one great thing about supplemental insurance is it works hand in hand with other types of insurance. So if I had a client that had Aflac and Family Heritage policy, both companies are going to pay them out if they get diagnosed. They're not going to be limited on what they can get.
so I guess my question is, if you don't need through payroll,
Mhm.
what's stopping any of our employees to say, hey, just reaching out individually to you and say, I want your policy?
Well, so that kind of goes back into our return of premium, being able to give you your money back. The reason we're able to do that is because we don't do any advertising. Family Heritage has been in business for 31 years. That'll be 32 years in September, and we've never done any advertising. The only way we advertise is by going to people and talking to them about it. So if somebody wanted to reach out and get more information from me, they wouldn't have to do that. Most people haven't heard of Family Heritage. We do have the backing of Globe Life, and people are more familiar with that. But unless I'm going and talking to somebody, sitting down with them face to face, they've never heard of us. They're not going to know to look for us.
It's part of their business model that they go directly to the employee.
Right.
And part of, I guess, my concern, I mean, I understand that our employees deserve as many options as they want.
Mhm.
But there could be unlimited options.
Right.
And if we were to allow, you know, you talked about company time, if we were to allow unlimited number of agents come in and talk to our employees, you know, they'd be there all day.
Right.
So how do you get a hold of, you know, you would like that foothold, if you would.
Mhm.
But at the same time, we can't give that to everybody.
Right.
And so how do we pick and choose and decide? I guess, you know, you said you don't do any advertising and they don't know to come to you. But there's all kinds of ways for you to get contact information from, I mean, and it doesn't have to be a county employee. It can be anybody who lives in your service area.
Right. So are you, I'm sorry, just to understand, are you talking about like getting, like, I guess, cell leads from other
To
companies?
to make contact,
Right.
to
Okay.
make contact with those people. Are you needing something from the county besides that?
No, all I'm asking for is permission to go in. If I had the permission to go in, like I said, with the highway department, what I would do is go in, talk to Steve, set an appointment, and then I'd go in there for one of their, they have their safety meetings every morning. I would go in for one of their safety meetings and talk to everybody for about 5 to 6 minutes, and then pass out paperwork for them. And anybody that's interested could reach out to me outside of work. So it's not taking up any of their work time. I'm just talking for 5 minutes during a meeting that they already have. Of course, not all businesses that I work with have those meetings, so then I have to take a little bit of their work time, but I usually do try to keep it pretty brief, about, like I said, 5 to 8 minutes. So I get your concern.
I just don't know how we determine, you know,
Right.
which company, which agent we grant access to and which ones we don't.
Right. And usually what I'll do, and this is kind of unique for me, like I said, I've never done this before, but if I'm going into a new business, the first thing I want to do is sit down with the employee or the owner or the manager and give them my sales pitch. That way they have an idea of what the company is. They can kind of compare our policy to anything that they might already offer. I can't really do that with you guys sitting in a setting like this. I can't go through the whole policy and do my whole pitch with you guys. So I don't have an answer for that, unfortunately. I just know in a typical setting, that's how I'll do it. I'll want to make sure that the person in charge of that is as familiar with our policies as I can get them to be. And then they can make the decision if they think it's worth it to have their employees look at it. Does that make sense? Did I answer your question?
I think I know what you're wanting to do, yes.
Okay.
I don't know that it's, you know, answered the question. It hasn't solved the issue as far as.
Right. I mean, how do you decide that? And again, like I said, usually I would just show the policy, and do the sales pitch for you, but I don't know. If you want to do that sometime outside of the meeting, I'd be happy to sit down with you.
So the point is, you open the phone book, there could be 25 different people in the county that sell insurance, and if everyone came and we said yes to everyone, who do you say yes to, who do you say no to? We've already made that determination by saying, in one way, saying yes to, who used to be Laurel, I guess, for that, like, I don't know who to do it now. Still her? So we've given consent to a single vendor. Is that fair to Mr. Elliott? Is
I
it
think
fair
it's a
to the
little-
other 22? I don't know where we start and stop.
I think the situation is just a little bit different because it is payroll deduction, it's a benefit that we offer. If he were presenting to us and whether or not we wanted to offer this to all employees as a payroll deduction and a benefit, I think it'd be a little bit different story and more similar to the Aflac situation. If after this meeting, many of our employees read about it and say, hey, I want to reach out to this guy, they can. I understand correctly. So, he gave his pitch. The employees can reach out to you, they can contact you and sign up for your service. I don't know that I'd be okay with allowing you to go into each department and do your pitch. Because I have the same concern Elmer does, it kind of opens up, and it's not just insurance, what's next?
Right.
And I can't foresee all of it, but I have a feeling we'd have a lot of vendors knocking on our door if we allowed you to do it.
Right. Okay.
So you're both saying, don't give the department head
That would be my opinion, yes.
that latitude. Like Steve, for example, his group, if he thinks his people need it, we're saying, do it on your own time. For the staff.
I think so. Now, Steve came in and presented a case, to us. I listened to it.
Sounds good? All right. Thank you, Mr. Hyde.
Thank you, guys.
All right. So at this point, with this situation, we haven't made any changes. If someone wants, access, they would come and get our consent, and no one has it at this time other than the approved vendors that are going through payroll. Is that correct? Okay. So we have a few minutes. I'm gonna use the restroom and then we'll take it back up.
So basically, you didn't vote on anything, you just not gonna act on it.
Oh, I see that.
Which one it is? One of them has a dangling front end. I don't know, I think he texted and I said it's good.
Okay, oh, okay.
Yeah. You forgot your Mexican food without mask, that
So, if we increased the pay.
Is it in the range yet, or if it's changed the range?
So, it would be.
believe it or not, I think it's you can miss your range.
We don't have
Really?
in our budget, or in your budget, I should say, in your budget for this year.
That both shut them
Yeah.
down, no, if you were asking them,
Change.
hush me.
But it should still be
Oh,
in
yeah.
the range, approximately, the classification range. Yeah, so.
If I can tell it,
With
that
start
sign
lines,
that says, we recognize that it's just a,
say.
but we're asking that you do. Then I'll run it. They don't.
And then there's the council will have to actually do an addition to spend money for
And I didn't know if that would be good to wait until, I just got out there, look up and then, I can't give you on Sundays, but it's, I can come back or. Okay. Just what you want me to what I did
I'm just, that's what I'm asking.
I was just asking if I could do it somewhere.
Is there a reason you couldn't set up, do that? Add it under to the agenda, but the position?
Like for today's?
Yes. I just don't know what the rules are on that, because the public wouldn't permit,
I think it'd be better to be on another one. I know it's always stuff to change, but I always feel like big items should be on there.
So, yeah, okay, I mean, I think that's.
what's the?
Yeah, so the council has to actually approve it, you guys would be supporting the council approving it,
You
basically.
have to change the position and the classification, and then they do an initial.
So it would
You could speak to the council. Whatever the name is.
So we want to.
No,
Oh.
I'm not.
It's a special meeting.
No, it's my phone chat, I didn't, I
What's going on with that?
Nothing, that's the problem.
But the issue is,
It's
that he wanted to try.
On my notes, that's not keeping their mouth shut. They keep saying that, we keep hearing different answers and different things going on, when we haven't
That
announced.
has to change on your.
What, you know, why, it's supposed to be, it was supposed to be last week of March, the first week of April. And they haven't, so we're about 2 weeks behind.
Council has to.
We're not getting answers.
So, if you guys are already had awarded, here's not.
No, we haven't awarded, we haven't awarded either. We had to send our applications, we haven't awarded.
Oh, okay, I thought they were. I thought that actually came out.
Yeah, not the 2021.
So do they still have to do something?
It would be good.
No, I'm kind of frustrated because they're sitting there, ready with projects, and they don't know if they're awarded or not awarded. So we give it a construction season.
Check out the money tonight, and then you come back with.
Who's doing that?
Or Thursday, okay.
I guess.
I mean, the thing is.
Who's your contact person?
Well, Sean Menner, she's my contact at Vince Sands.
I know,
And, you know, a couple weeks, because I got contracts ready, things like that.
So your applications have already been submitted. Are they true?
Yeah.
So you haven't already.
That's the thing, no one's heard anything.
Not even the cities?
Nope, nobody.
Were you guys?
That's what you guys, are asking me about.
Yeah, there's nobody's research. I'm frustrated because nothing's happening. Actually, I didn't tell her.
I just thought if there was some way.
So you guys are expecting,
First week of
We'll just see, we're gonna, hopefully, see next week. We'll just see. We'll just, yeah.
You can keep it on your range.
Okay, thank you guys. Oh, and that's, I got those. Okay, thank you.
All right, let's get back to order. The next item on the agenda is regional sewer district update. Hello?
A couple of things here that I will. The first one is just kind of a summary of where we are, where we're going. The second one is a draft of the first kind of public survey that we want to take at the first public meeting, public informational meeting. So I won't read through the study report update completely, that you can see there kind of the items that we've completed, what we're in the process of doing, what tasks still are to come, just to give you kind of an idea of where we are in the process of putting that study together. And then the main thing, I guess, is wanted you all to take a look at that draft survey. We've talked about trying to set a date for that first public meeting, tentatively of May 3rd. That would be the kickoff for that survey. We will house it online, and give you all the opportunity to put that link on your Facebook page or however you all want to disseminate that to the residents. And then the day of the public meeting, we would have paper copies for those that don't have access or choose not to do it online. So just take some time to look at that over the next week or so. If you have any comments, have any questions you all want us to add, since we are getting you public information, if there's something maybe not even quite related to the sewer district, but while you have this chance, you want to add a question or two, we'll be glad to do that. We're looking, like I said, at kicking it off at the public meeting, so we've got about a week and a half or so to review and make changes, and then we need just 3 or 4 days to get it online and up and running. So I guess the first kind of decision I wanted to make sure we had made is to set a date for that public meeting, and if May 3rd works or what. I think Nick had suggested May 3rd, and doing it in the evening so that people can do it after work, so like 5:30 or something like that. I'm open, I mean, if that's not the best date, but.
And in the past, sometimes we've done these in connection with our commissioner meeting. I had suggested to Mary that we do it at like 5:30 in the evening, to allow people to come in after work, be a little more open, and hopefully have more people here.
You plan to have it here?
I would think.
And basically, there's a few lists. I mean, it'll be a fairly short meeting. We're gonna kind of give just a opening 30-second description as to what the goals are of the regional sewer district. Kind of give a summary of some of the demographics and topographic information that we've pulled together. Plan to have kind of a tentative service map laid out that just shows some radiuses around the existing treatment facilities and kind of what we think will likely go to what treatment facility and that kind of thing, so people can kind of see where they live and where they would go. And mainly just to get public feedback.
I mean, are you expecting a couple things? Would this be a county commissioners meeting, or is this going to be a sewer district meeting? What are you expecting?
Assuming just sewer district meeting, am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, just public information meeting regarding the sewer district.
And we're thinking people are gonna show up. I mean, I guess I'm sitting there thinking, I don't know how many people would show up. So
I don't know.
Have you done something like this in another county ever?
It's been probably 10 years since I have done one, but yes, and we did 3 of them. The first one had a whole lot of attendance, and mainly just people wanting to see what it was about. The last 2 had about a handful of attendance, basically just a couple of people who were concerned, in order to show their concern. We are, to go through the final process, like if you look at the, I guess, updated schedule, it shows the actual development of the regional sewer district is kind of at the end of the study period, mainly because we have to have the study complete before we can actually develop the board and develop the petition that we have to do to IDEM and all of those things. But as part of the requirements for that petition, it does require that we have had at least 1 public information meeting.
Because I think this is very important. I just didn't know how we would have somebody that would be affected would, one, know about it, two, would, if they would attend, so.
And I think your question about whether it's a commissioner meeting or whether it's a sewer board, there is no sewer board at this point. In other words, a committee.
Right.
A meeting of some sort. And if it's a commissioner meeting, we need a quorum. If it's not a commissioner meeting, we can't have a quorum. So,
Well, you guys could probably show up, all three could show up, but you couldn't discuss business or make any decisions,
Right.
you know?
I don't think that's even right.
I agree.
See, but, the other informational meetings
I
that I've
think
been
it's a
to,
public meeting and it's been advertised.
yeah,
It all-
because for federal aid jobs, when I was at Warwick County, all three commissioners made it a point to attend. They didn't discuss anything, they didn't sit next to each other, but they were all three in attendance making a presence.
The advisory statement on these meetings says that taking information of the meeting.
That's action.
I know what happens.
Yeah, I think having you guys there, I get making decisions, but that's one thing I've always disagreed with is that, you know, being at a meeting, taking information is very important, it's very valid, that's why you guys were elected.
and
You can't just sit here.
if we feel that's important and we need to be here, then why not make it a meeting?
Well, and that's, right, yeah.
We did the same thing.
Why not advertise it and make it a meeting?
We got to get it, you can publish it, you can use it.
I wouldn't see any harm in making it a commissioner meeting.
I mean, the only item on the agenda is to take information, public input.
Not to say we have important meetings all the time, but we gotta do this, but it would be good for you to be there. I mean, like this whole jail thing the whole time, if you just been committee meetings. It's understanding whatever, that's fine.
But at those committee meetings, generally, it was not a forum of commissioners.
I guess the big question is, do you two want to be at this meeting as well? If either one of you wants to come, we'll make it a commissioner meeting, so therefore we advertise it correctly. And if the two of you aren't coming, then we will just make it a committee meeting and I'll be here.
I guess the question is, do I have to keep it?
I'm fine if it's a committee meeting.
It'd be short this week, just like the meeting.
And if we get feedback at this meeting that is, because I think you know where we stand, we are fully supportive of moving forward with it. If we get we'll learn something from the first one, and if we need to be there, then if we can, if there are additional ones.
So if it's a committee meeting as opposed to a commissioners meeting, will the county still advertise it as such, or do we need to handle advertising for it? I mean, how is that?
Sandy?
Well, that's my question is, are minutes gonna have to be kept?
If you're advertising for the meeting of the commission, you can handle that part of it. If we decide that we're going to have more than one, then we will advertise it. We'll have a special meeting to receive information on that topic.
We don't really advertise, we just notify the media.
That's right.
Okay.
Right, there's no publication of it, like.
I just want to make sure, my main concern is that everybody who is concerned with this or has any kind of input that they would like to add knows that we're having this meeting and has an opportunity to meet.
Well, the other question I have is, what if we get 500 people? We can't seat them here, obviously.
I would be shocked.
Well,
I would be literally shocked.
But you don't wanna rent the gym for two people.
I don't want to, yeah, exactly.
I mean,
We can over
I don't
prepare, we
know
can
how
under
many-
prepare. I mean, we have commissioner meetings every week. We discuss them, or every 2 weeks. We discuss important things. We don't ever have 500 people show up.
well, I was just saying.
I know, so I really seriously doubt that this room is gonna be inadequate for the number of people who do show up. And if it is, then maybe we cross that bridge when we get there and we have to reschedule and have it.
Well,
And Sandy could still send an email out to the media saying, a committee headed by Commissioner Hofstadter will meet with these folks. Here's the purpose of it. We can still put it on the Facebook page and share it, and we'll share the survey.
Okay.
That sounds like kind of getting where we want to get.
So, when we finalize the version of the survey, the link for that, you want us to send that to Sandy?
You can send it to
Anybody?
whoever, yes, and we'll make.
Well, I can make it available on the website, he can make it available on Facebook, I mean, we have options like that. If it's a is it something that they link to that you do it electronically, or is it gonna be by paper?
Well, we'll have a paper one here for those that come and don't want to do it online. Electronically, yes, it'd be just like any other electronic survey. You click the dot and it takes you to the next question. If you notice, there's some, like, when you answer question 2, depending on how you answer it, it either tells you to go to section 3 or 4. Electronically, it'll automatically, depending on how you answer question 2, it'll automatically bring up whatever section's relevant. You know, so they won't necessarily see the whole
I was
survey
just trying to make it,
electronically.
if you wanted more responses, we can make it available, people could.
Right.
But if I had to print this off at home, then I wouldn't have.
No, that's what I'm saying, like, what I would do is I'd send you the link so they could go to where we have it posted. They'll answer it all, and when they're finished, we'll actually get like, you know, data type report outs of everything that was answered. Nobody will have to sit there and go through all the resumes or all the surveys and tally that up. It'll all be done electronically.
In addition to the website and the Facebook page, you could email it to all employees, and that way it reaches that many people, that many more people would get it. They can email it, they can forward that email if they want to.
Absolutely. Well, that's really all I have. I was just wanting to give you an update and lay down some plans for the first public meeting. If y'all have any questions, I'd be glad to take those.
So you're looking at May 3rd then?
May 3rd, 5:30,
For a committee meeting.
and if we could use this room.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
I think next, or he's still looking for something for this.
I'm just looking at the rooms available, which I'm sure they have.
Our favorite county treasurer, come on up. Who's your host?
Who's up first?
I sent you guys all, thank you, Jasper Lumber, for Kitty's room, to redo the room. They gave me a quote of roughly 3,000 to 3,500.
Kitty's dream, is that what I heard?
Kitty's room. He's
Treasurer's office, how's that? They're guessing between $3,000 and $3,500 is what they're guessing. They $85 to design it, an hour for the person to design it. So, the only thing is, if we don't go with them, we don't get the plans, we don't get nothing. It's they got the right to their drawings and all that.
And if we pay 10 or 11,000 to Universal, then we bid it, we can bid it based on that. Do we have any idea what this is gonna cost? We have no idea. That's the thing that.
I don't know if Brent has it.
Well, I think we all know that if we go with the Jasper Lumber plan, they're gonna make up for their plan drawing on construction. And if we go with Universal Design, we already paid for the plan drawing, they're made whole. And then we choose the construction company based on the bid. I think my preference would be to go with Universal at this point, because then we're not roped in, and we can still go and double check. You know, we can get competitive bids, and we're close.
I mean, you know, we want it out of the air, I mean, is this a $40,000 project, and we're gonna spend $10,000 on the design?
I don't
I
know it was.
That's what I'm saying, it's $10,000
I don't
of a
You're not
$200,000
gonna put a hole
project,
in
it's not bad.
in the wall, and you're moving utilities. I'm just shocked it was under 40. I mean, I think it's probably.
I mean, my guess it'd be under 50, I would,
Right.
easy. I think,
You're moving a lot of utilities, you're knocking a hole in the wall, and it's not.
I mean, the utilities is just what's in the counter.
Yeah,
I mean, you just drill another.
but you also got that radiator sitting on the outside.
No,
Radiator's
that
not
doesn't
gonna-
get,
You're not gonna mess with
no,
that?
no, that stays.
Okay.
But it is a load bearing wall,
Yeah, it's a
so
low
there has to be a
bearing wall, there's a
beam.
beam over there.
Mhm.
Have to be a beam.
There's a significant amount of work that's gonna be involved just to put that
And then they're cutting through marble.
in. Yeah, okay.
The countertop's marble, so, yeah.
So I guess my thought on this whole project is we haven't really approved the project because it's on the list of ARP money stuff. do we need to make a decision on this, or does this need to just be put on the list? When we have a committee, we determine if this project is worth moving forward, or is this outside of that? Because if it's outside of that, we need to figure out where the money will come from to pay for it.
At this point, I don't know if we know if we qualify, or.
I would say it would, based on if we want to say that it, if nothing else, it would be a response to the public health emergency, and that it keeps the public out of their private space. If for nothing else, it would probably qualify for that. That would be my thought.
Tell me again, what was it, 3,000?
They're guessing 3,000 to 3,500
To design.
to design.
To design.
It's $85 an hour for the girl to come and draw it up and design it.
Because we got the original from Universal, and I think I asked Scott, I said, well, last time wasn't the design part of the job, like when we did this room, and
That's a little bit easier here.
it's a different animal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what he decided to get somebody in to design it.
I mean, I'd still support the project, I don't know that,
Can you go back to them and basically just, the last term of this contract, negotiate the ownership of the documentation? I mean, we're paying for a product here, so.
I'm sure we probably could, but then you're probably gonna get up to the Universal, they're cool probably. They're not gonna, I mean, in other words, just add another couple $1,000 on, we keep the drawing, is what you're basically saying, right?
I'm not asking to add any more, I'm just asking to let us keep the drawings. But yeah.
You gotta do that.
Then you got something you can work with.
Yeah, they're not gonna draw it up for us. And just give it to it.
As far as which way to go, I mean, I get your point. Do we want to go pause and wait for ARP money to see whether it qualifies? But as far as Jasper Lumber versus some Universal or somewhere else, I kind of think Jasper Lumber's been a good partner on a lot of projects. And I know it's a little blind, but I think I'd be inclined to go that direction.
I'd say Universal's been a good partner in the community too, so I hate to say.
They are, I don't mean to, on, this is not a smaller project, but on some, the other projects that we've done recently around here, Jasper Lumber's worked out real well, hasn't it?
Yeah. For what they've done so far with me,
And if Universal designs it, we can still use Jasper Lumber.
That's true.
Yes.
True.
Who did the health department overhang?
Universal.
That's
They drew it,
They did the design.
I wasn't.
I don't know who designed it.
Cypher built it.
Cypher built it, yeah.
I took out the,
Yeah. And Universal did design it. I'm sure, Universal did.
It's Universal.
Want me to
So-
bring it to that committee?
Yeah, I just want to say, I would support it with or without the ARP money. I think it's a worthwhile endeavor. I think it'll make ease of use for our customers as well. To be able to come in and have all the windows be similar. And I think in the long run, whether that space becomes part of the auditor's office or the assessor's office, it'll be utilized, whether we spend the money through the ARP or it's just, county general or,
So with Jasper Lumber, then, once they do a design or Universal, either one of them, do they say, we estimate project cost at X?
Yeah.
Is that part of either of those?
Yeah, that's Jasper Lumber.
I think that's Universal. Oh, no, well,
Universal bid it out. I think Jasper Lumber here said that they'll give us a price, budget estimate.
So overall, I think it's a good idea. You seem to think it's a decent idea, just as a project, so do we want to encourage the treasurer to go look for money from the council? Or,
I guess my next question would be if she would go to the council, get approval, and we would start the project, does that then preclude us from using the ARP money?
Probably.
That would be supplanting. You already have something in place, you
I
can't.
didn't know that word, but yes. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, once it's spent, once we do it.
Once you have it in place, you can't say, oh, no, I wanna put this grant in
Now,
that
don't
place,
get me
that's
wrong,
supplanting.
I feel like even if we did this project, we'll have plenty of things to spend the ARP money on. It's not gonna get wasted.
Well, because I also want my kiosk.
So I think we could probably make a decision with Jasper Lumber doing a design or Universal and try to use it with the expectation that ARP money will do the project. So if we said, move forward with, we support Jasper Lumber, Universal, move forward with the council to get $10,000 or less, we could do that, I would think. The intent of this agreement, budget estimate, compensation, document ownership, Jasper Lumber shall be designing and developing primary plans for the purpose of establishing a fairly accurate estimate. Given the liability implications, these plans, designs, and estimates are not to be disclosed to or used by other persons, firms, or corporations for any purpose whatsoever without written consent.
I don't, I think the point was made earlier, I don't think regardless of which way we go, it's gonna make a lot of difference in what we end up paying for the project. We spend more on the design now, then we bid it, the bids may come in lower.
Do either of you have a preference or a thought?
I do not.
I don't think it's gonna be as high as we're thinking. I could be wrong, I don't know. I don't
know, I just, the price of construction materials right now, I don't know.
I mean, tearing out the wall and putting the beam in, yeah, tearing out a wall ain't gonna be that much with the beam up.
Kitty can do that, Mark.
Yeah, I can.
Bring
Bring my hard hat.
And I don't think the electric and
Why are you laughing?
that's
It's gonna be fun to watch.
I don't know.
I got my sawzall.
All right, so it sounds like each of you.
You go to work on that
Probably
marble.
go Universal.
I like the fact that if we go with Universal, it leaves us wide open as far as who we can use to do the construction. If we go with Jasper Lumber, we have to go with Jasper Lumber.
And from what Mr. Schneider has shared with us many times, if it's not gonna probably meet the bidding requirement for a public works project of, what is it?
If you get that quote back from Jasper Lumber, it's again north of $50,000, then we gotta do something different. Public Works project, is that the question you're asking?
Right, so if Universal Design comes back and says it's gonna be $100,000 project,
Then, right, we can write the quotes.
then we have to get quotes. If it's over 150,000, we have to get bids.
Correct.
So we're not gonna have to take bids, but.
I don't think so.
We shouldn't get that high.
I don't think you'll get over 50.
If it's over 50, my support might start wavering a little bit.
Mine too.
Now, there's another thing to consider in going back and forth is, if Universal designs something that is, I don't wanna say overkill, but designed in such a way that it's gonna make the cost of the project go up. I don't know how we control that.
I think we're asking for the same thing, no matter who we use.
We're asking for the same result, but sometimes different techniques, different materials, different.
Do one of the two have a more skill set? I mean, do the people at Universal Designs have a higher level of design, structural engineering than the folks who have?
I would say design wise, you're gonna get the same design, but for that $3,000 up front, it's not, like for Universal's 10 grand, I mean, obviously they gotta make a profit. Jasper Lumber is probably waiving that profit by doing $3,000, saying they're not gonna make any money on that. Plus, Universal's gonna give you a full set of plans. Jasper Lumber is gonna say, this is what we're gonna do, this is how much it's gonna cost. You're not gonna have where pipe fittings are gonna go, where your bolts are gonna go.
all your
They're
structure
gonna,
stuff.
they're gonna show us a picture of what it looks
Yeah.
like.
Enterprise.
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 The sketch.
Which for $7,000 difference, I mean, you can get a lot of work done.
I couldn't agree more.
You can get a lot of work done for $7,000.
But I'm afraid but if it comes in over 50, say Jasper's, I'm not saying it will, but if it does, then you're out Jasper's money because you're still gonna have to create plans because
That ain't gonna be a plan.
it's not gonna be a plan. So let's say Jasper Lumber comes in, redesign and designs something for $3,000, which could, and it say it comes in, I'm not saying it will, if it comes in at $60,000, what it's gonna cost. Estimate. You guys decide you still wanna move forward, you still have to get bids, then we're hiring Universal to come in and create documents because the plans that Jasper Lumber just made, they're not keeping them, or they're not giving them, they're keeping them.
Could we ask for quotes without drawings? It's they say 60, we say we're
Well,
opening it for
then-
quotes. And here's what we want a final product to be. People can decide to quote us or not.
And then you're not necessarily bidding apples to apples. Cypher may come in and say, I wanna do this, this, and this, Crent may say, I wanna do this, this, and this. You're not comparing the same thing, where Universal's gonna give you, this is what we want. This is, and that they bring it back, they do an initial design, they bring it back to Kitty, Scott reviews it. Material wise, hey, we are not gonna use this material because it costs way too much, let's go ahead and put this in. They can put that in the spec and drop the price of the bid down.
But wouldn't the treasurer put 4 main components that she wants the project to be, and short of that, it doesn't matter?
Then you're not comparing apples to apples. You're not gonna really compare, because Cypher may come in and say, we're gonna put straw in this as backing, where Jasper Lumber's gonna come in and say, we're gonna put brick up. You know, I'm being very sarcastic, but it's the same concept. So,
I would think you'd want plans, but that's just me.
from the engineering side, I want plans. And Jasper Lumber's got a good thing going with the design build. They do. I do agree with that. They do a good job with it. I don't want to throw Jasper Lumber under the bus. I don't. I think they do a great job. But from the engineering side, I want plans and then just shoot out to give to everybody to look at.
So I guess what I would say is, we could go with the county attorney's thoughts. If Jasper Lumber will give us plans, and we pay them for it, we can go with that. We're ahead of the game. If they won't do that, then we would go with Universal Design.
And yeah, if Jasper Lumber's willing to do it, that'd be a great plan. I agree.
That's right, I guess I would stand. You can make the ask.
I'm really open either way.
Okay, but now my question is what Sandy said. Like, if we have them design something, then we can't use that money.
You pay for the plan.
We're gonna pay for the
All
plan.
we're doing is authorizing the plan.
Okay, but isn't that like a pre-existing condition?
No, because we can get the plan and we do not have to follow through with it. We're getting the plan, so we
Just
have
get
an
the
idea of
plan,
what
then
the
we
cost
get
is gonna be. And if we get this plan and the cost is entirely too high, we won't use, we're not gonna submit it for our money either.
Okay.
So, yeah, just because we're getting a plan doesn't mean we're gonna follow through.
But the plan will not be paid for by the department.
Right,
Correct.
Go to the council to get.
right, I get that, but I'm saying, will they deny us, the ARC
I
plan
don't-
be denied because we already have the plans in place?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't know that, but we don't have a lot of guidance on
We
that.
don't have no guidance.
So is that our guidance to the treasurer today, is to move forward in that fashion, try to see what Jasper Lumber will do. If they will work with us that way, which they likely won't, they might, whatever.
You're saying we want a set of plans,
Free.
Not free.
No.
that belong to
Pay for
us.
'em.
That
No,
belong
we
to
want
us.
a set of plans.
They want $3,500 to create plans that we don't get. How much do they want for plans that we
Plans that we
do
do
get?
get. Okay.
And I feel like in a way, they have a little bit of an advantage here because Universal already presented, everybody knows what Universal's plans cost. So, they can just say, what's Universal's? Oh, yeah, we'll do $1,000 less than that. We're still ahead,
It wasn't really fair to Universal then.
but it wasn't fair to Universal.
Yeah, it seems like we're making a huge deal out of that.
It seems like it, yeah.
Sorry.
We want to room to be.
Thanks, Greg.
I mean, we're not, I mean, it's not like we're in a humongous rush here. I wouldn't say. Check with Jasper Lumber on that deal. If you want to approach the council, would you be able to get on the next agenda for the council next week?
You can get on the agenda. I just
Do we
can't
want to give
advertise
her,
anything
do
yet.
we want to give her our support in requesting, an amount not to exceed whatever the universal quote is? Not that,
So that she can go to council.
yes.
I can't get anything approved. I mean, they can consensus to advertise for May. Or it's too
Right.
late to advertise for
Get the
anything.
ball rolling on it, at least. Does that sound good?
I think that's fair.
And then we can still decide not to do the drawing, and not to do the project, but
Right.
at least we're getting funding available in case we do move forward.
Craig, will we have any issue if like Universal would come back and say, hey, we don't feel like that was fair?
Good, but again, these are for services and drawings, they're gonna need.
I guess
I
you
just
can always
don't-
let them resubmit.
I just don't wanna get in a situation where Universal comes back and says, you know,
Again, it's a quote, it's not a bid. So, they can, I don't think legally we
I think they both do good work. I'm not opposed to
Shouldn't-
using either
should never
one.
say that, I'm not a lawyer.
I just feel like it's kind of, if we bid our road projects out and Denise comes out and says, this is what we'll charge you for rock, and then 2 weeks later, we ask somebody else. Well, now they're privy to Denise's numbers, and that's not really, But if our attorney's okay with it, I think I'm too. So.
Yep, so please make that request, and then you can start on the funding, and then we can determine in the future if, you have our blessing to move forward with requesting funding, but you don't have our blessing for the project necessarily. We'll have to make that selection in the next week. Thank you.
Yeah.
You want this back? Mr. Troy?
This will have to be on the committee, thanks for that.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Next up, we have,
Everybody left.
not everybody, still one of our favorite in here, but, park and rec staffing.
When you were at, sorry, that's okay.
It's important. So we had an issue last week, up about, staffing. There's been a lot of,
It's been ongoing for a couple of years.
it was brought up again, I
I'm sorry,
suppose.
what was it?
For Park and Rec,
I was curious with Sandy.
It's
she
been
said
an
it's been
issue
going
that's been
on.
going on for a
Oh.
while.
Okay.
So, this payroll, Bob was paid out 69.75 comp hours, and another 40 holding, because that's the maximum you can hold. So you assume $70 times his hourly pay, that's a considerable amount. Human Resources Director spoke with him, and the hours, like, the auditor said, are not a new thing. He's been putting them in since he's been hired decades ago, but as of 2018, I guess he became a non-exempt employee, thus getting paid for the comp. It was more, it's been visible now. He says that his morale is good, he still is fine with it, but the hours are taking a toll. He's missing some family things because of the time he's putting in. He would welcome outside help beyond just the summer help. And Human Resources Director mentioned that possibly with all these comp hours, the overtime hours being paid out, part-time position may pay for itself, or he said would pay for itself. Plus the stress long hours could, harm the employee's health. And, but the employee, this isn't coming from the employee, he's not complaining, and he will always do what's required to get the job done. He's been a real asset, he worked his tail off, but, it just looks like he is now getting compensated for it, where in the past, maybe he was just, put in the hours and not, because the exempt versus not exempt situation changed. So I just want to bring that up for conversation. I thought we should, look at his existing budget, see what benefits he's getting, and if there's a way we can provide.
Well, last year, I commented to Christine, the president of the park board, that he was earning quite a bit of comp time. And rather than paying a lot of comp time out, could we hire Carter full-time, another position? And then COVID hit and that just kind of can.
No, just following the emails this past week or 2 weeks, whatever's been going on. It kind of makes sense to me if we can find a part-time help year-round there, as Marky said, it would likely pay for itself. And if that's the case, and if Bob's okay with it, if he doesn't have a problem with it, and it doesn't sound like he does, then it makes sense that that's the way we go. The only other consideration, I think you kind of raised this subject, Chad, in one of the emails was, are we doing more work than is necessary? And
I didn't get any feedback on that.
yeah, I don't see that, but I don't see any evidence of that, but, you know.
Well, right now, we have somebody on FMLA, so he has to take over that.
Greg, would you mind asking Murphy to come in?
Sure.
Thank you.
You wanna have that call with Mr. Hall first, or do you want?
I don't know, in 4 minutes, we'll start that call or whatever time that is. Yeah, and I don't know, I wasn't trying to make any implications, it's like, is the man doing more than
That he needs to.
And it looks like here, his comp line item is $5,000, or it was in 2019. 2020 approved was 2,000, and I don't have the most current budget in front of me, so.
We did additional appropriations last year too.
Hello, sir. We're talking about Park and Rec, with the comp hours out there and some options that we might have. I thought you probably would be nice to have you on the conversation. Okay. So I shared with them, they already had your email about your conversation with him, and we're just seeing what might be a good way to go forward. I think from one of the emails, I don't know if it was from Christine to me personally, or if it was in the group as the board park board president, she said that they have funds in there for another part-time person. I don't know where those funds are. I don't know what she was meaning by that.
They have part-time summer help or something, I think that's what she's talking about.
And do they not? And I don't know if that's. So.
Yeah, I remember her saying that she said that they probably already had the money in there. So I don't know how much they've got in that part-time line item, to cover summer help plus this position. I don't know, but, I remember seeing a comment though, that she acted like that they already had some funds available, so.
I can't reach anybody over there.
I don't know if you have access to the budget on your computer to see
I'm gonna
what
try
they
to
have
see if I
left
can
at the
get
end of the year. So anyway, I guess I want to give support or give some information to, yeah, you got the old one. Give some information to Christine. The board is meeting next week. So I wanted to be able to cover something.
You're meeting with the 4-H board as well.
Right.
Now, does the 4-H council explain the salary for Bob? Who pays the salary for
Okay,
Bob?
we pay the salaries for all the employees and their benefits. They pay like the utilities, the house, the stuff, and then then I send them a report saying, this is what our salaries were, and then they do 50% of our salaries, and then that's how they settle up, and they usually owe us money, because salaries are always more than
The 4-H council?
the 4-H council,
4-H.
so we get half of the
So
salaries.
they pay 50% of the
Yeah.
salary,
And they pay
as well as the perks, the house and the utilities.
Yes, that's all in there.
So the other 50% is technically the work he does for the park.
Yes.
And we pay that.
The work,
Technically, we pay all of it.
we pay all the salaries, they
Right.
pay the utilities and those kind of things, and then we do a settle up.
Okay.
Like I give them what we did, they do what they do, and then they usually owe us money.
I guess what I was saying is, we give 4-H $100,000,
Well,
they give us 20,000 of it back.
We do, but
Oh,
that's
it's
all
more
to
than
the
that, it's
side.
like 40 or 50.
That's all to the side. I'm just trying to figure out if the other 50% is work that he does for the park, and now we're talking about that the park has in their budget to have additional money available for part-time help? Are they paying, is the park budget?
Any salary we do, I send that to them. And they do half of it. So that if the summer help, the 2 full-time workers, they give us half of all that.
So it looks like.
4-H or the
4-H council,
4-H council? Does the park, pay any of that?
we are the park.
We are the park, okay, that,
Our fund is the park and recreation, the
So-
4-H council is there.
so when the park says they have money in their budget for, it's just in their budget, it's still from us.
I don't know what the 4-H council has in there, that's
No,
changed.
not the 4-H council, the park,
Oh, the park. That's us.
that's us, okay.
I'm trying to look up last year what,
So what they're saying is they may be able to help out without additional appropriation.
So I think our role would be, will we allow the line item that is considered summer help to be year-round help? Or can we hire maybe, if they need 2 kids or 2 people during the summer, we also use that same money for somebody that can help through the whole camping season or during the whole, whenever it's needed. I would say I wouldn't have a problem with that. If the budget doesn't go up, it doesn't make me any difference how many people provide it. Does that make sense, or am I missing
Well, when you said that the budget doesn't go up, and I agree with that, and I'm not saying I'm opposed to the budget going up, but I understand what you're saying. I would think they wouldn't want to sacrifice their summer help for year-round help.
if they don't use it all.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
They
How much
don't
do
use
they?
all their summer, the funding for their summer help. Yeah,
Comp time planning had an additional $4,000 added to it.
So they went from 5 to 9, so they spent $9,000 on comp time last year. So to your point, if we added $4,000 to the budget to get 200 hours from a $20 an hour.
Plus
per-
benefits. I mean, that's not including benefits per,
for part-time.
Part-time?
for that comp time.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So it's not just 4,000, it's 4,000.
It's 4,000 plus benefits.
What did they have left at the end of the year for their summer help line? Well, Greg, I think I ran over, didn't I?
Sorry, he's aware.
I'm still looking,
You're
sorry.
okay.
So hopefully what we'll find is he underutilized that line item. We can make.
It looks like they budgeted 30, and then maybe there was 11,000 left over. Yeah, 11,000 left over.
2/3 of it.
So that 11 plus the other 9. I mean, comp time, and I'm not saying we remove that from the budget, but that's what we spent last year. If we pay somebody $20,000 a year and he has 0 comp time, we're not really out anything. Or if we made a budget line on $20,000 a year, I should say.
Or I think what the emails mentioned, like having a retiree or somebody that would just help,
Right.
So maybe the 11 that was left, plus the 4 that was the additional appropriation, $15,000 would have to pay somebody for. I mean, same idea.
Well, my thought was, it should offset that comp time, but sure. The original $4,000, was it 4,000, the original 4,000, 5,000, originally 5,000 comp time, so
Sure. So we cut comp time budget $2,000 and add that because it's summer help if we needed it.
right, because hopefully that means you won't be going over and having comp time.
So I don't want to micromanage what the park board does. They're probably better in tune with what their needs are and what they've got there, but can I report back to them that just what we've heard today, that there was 11,000 left in the summer help. We'd probably be open to getting him, allowing for another assistant that they can use however they see fit within that budget, I think. Is that fair?
I don't know what the range is for their part-time help, summer help. They might need a different wage classification for somebody regular part-time. I don't know that.
We'd have to, we'd have to create a position, probably, but within the same budget.
Create a position, create a classification. So that so that it fits the range.
I will share that information with the park board president. If there's anything else you want me to share with her, we can let me know. Our goal is to, two things, probably. One, take a little weight off the back of an employee, and two, better utilize our funds, or fully utilize our funds. So right now we have resolution number 2021-14 coming before our board. I'll wait till our bond counsel is on the phone.
Thanks, Marky.
All right.
Thank you, Marky, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Who's your contact again?
Sean Benner.
Sean, who,
Sean Benner.
is he the Southwest?
She.
Sorry, she the Southwest.
She's the Vincent's.
Vincent's district.
Yeah.
So your consensus is to proceed with possible part-time help?
Rick, good morning. It's Greg Schneider. You're on speaker here with the Board of Commissioners.
Morning. Good morning.
Morning, Rick.
So we have Mr. Hall on the phone. We're going to consider resolution number 2021-14, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of DuBois County, Indiana, accepting appraisals and approving the sale of real property. The commissioners have had the opportunity to read and consider the resolution, and we will, and they've had the opportunity to look at the appraisal report. Is there any comments that any commissioners would like to make on this issue?
I have none.
No, I don't.
No comments from the commissioners. I believe I would be prepared to move forward with approval of the resolution, but I'd like any feedback from bond counsel before we do so.
Sure. So the resolution is, as you know, is approving the transfer of the existing jail and real estate in exchange for the purchase price, which is not greater than the average, or not less than the average of the two appraisals that you've received, and this allows us to complete the lease financing upon retirement of the bonds. The property will automatically transfer back to the county.
Okay, thank you. I will make a motion that we approve the resolution 2021-14.
Yes. I'll second your motion.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried unanimously. Mr. Hall, anything else we need from you today?
No, that's it.
All right, well, we will give this to our local attorney. Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Whatever.
You just hit that little red.
Mr. Hall probably charges for 15 minutes, so we should have been one way
So,
Last time we did, we got our asses ripped by it.
Okay, so. There, is there any other issues regarding the resolution to transfer the real estate?
No, it's just part of the process. And the proceeds of that sale will come from the bond.
Correct.
And that's a
We actually have.
ordinance we're going to create that fund.
Correct. We're going above and beyond $1 million.
All right, thank you. Surplus items?
I sent, or I guess, did I send her, or Jackie sent you a list of, she has a
File cabinet, yes.
file cabinet and then a heater or something.
Heater?
There's a note on there about a heater.
I don't know what's up there.
Also have a small heater that I don't know where we got it, and it is not on inventory, but it squeals when it's turned on, so we don't use it anymore.
And chances are that might have been an employee that just left it there when they moved on.
I would think that's probably the case.
Who knows?
Did she have any ideas of how to dispose of it? Or would it be,
Can I answer that question?
I guess I'd be happy to declare it surplus and ask her to maybe call the restore, see if anybody has a use for it, because we don't have a use for it, but it's, not broken.
Special purpose file cabinet that, I don't know what, where you'd find somebody to use that.
I'll move that we declare both the heater and the cabinet as surplus materials to be disposed of in the best way possible by the county recorder.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Anything else from the county auditor this week? No. I'll give you an update on where we are with requests for that ARP money, just so if you're interested. So we got the county treasurer for her remodel and the kiosk. We had Du Bois Water Utilities for the district, sewer district situation. Small businesses, had somebody mentioned that one, at broadband grant program, that was something I mentioned. TriCap mentioned getting grants. Total Water, Mr. Merkel was here earlier. Revenue loss was one that we discussed locally. Someone else had to mention something about Huntingburg businesses. Sewer district again. This was feedback I received, said equal opportunity for all families in Du Bois County to have reliable and affordable internet access. Another one with more public facilities with computer access and printing abilities with a fee. And provide safer crosswalks throughout the county workplaces and schools. And they suggested light up signs like the ones at Ireland Elementary. I think that may be in part due to the situation we've had out here with, I guess, over the years, 2 employees being hit around the square coming across there. So I think that's probably what pushed that one. And then someone also mentioned a UV I'm calling it a UV disinfecting machine. I looked at it, and it's something that helps disinfect large areas, like jail blocks, the work release, or possibly the courthouse. I don't know much about it. I looked at it. It has UV lights on it, and I guess after so many minutes, CDC says that kills viruses and stuff. So
There were discussions about those types of things last year when the pandemic all started. They're part of an HVAC system, and go into the HVAC system. And,
I think that's one thing, but I think this is something a little different than that.
different, okay.
Some of these they call them robots.
Oh.
Yeah. So maybe they'll move on their own and disinfect like in the evening when you're not there. Heck, I don't know, but it's pretty expensive. But I did contact the salesperson to look at them. We'll put them on the list after soon, and the board or the committee can determine if they like it. They also make small ones you can put in the back of a sheriff's vehicle. I thought that might not be a bad idea, because depending on who you pick up, I guess, maybe it's, I don't know, I guess we'd have to ask.
I'm just thinking tanning beds must be like really pristine then, because of all the UV light.
Yeah, that's why they don't reclaim it.
Right?
So that was the list for the ARP money at this point. If anybody hears of any other ones, I'll put it on the list. I think I mentioned earlier the names of the people that have volunteered for the committee so far. Commissioner Bromas, any updates on the cell phone policy?
No, you had a discussion, did you have a discussion at the department head meeting?
We did talk at the department head meeting, and I don't think we really said we're looking for people to serve, but we said we'd reach out to people with cell phones.
So I need to get with Sandy now.
So that's kind of where we're at.
We're waiting on that, and, so we'll get together and, try to figure out what to do.
I did talk to Stuart Wilson, the new person who will be taking the directorship at 911, and he said things are going well out there, so I spoke with him quite a bit at that department head meeting. So, looks like that's going okay, and I don't have anything else.
So on Facebook, we have a retirement. I wasn't aware of, Tom.
He's not retired.
He's not retiring, he's got a retirement badge from the sheriff department.
I thought the same thing, but if you read it.
But everybody's congratulating him on his retirement, but he's not retired, he just got his badge that so shows he's a retired officer.
So what does the badge mean?
That he can carry a firearm
In
without a
public?
without a,
With-
I don't know, something about he can carry his firearm because he's a retired officer.
Okay.
So he's retired from
So
that.
I would assume with his badge, he could carry it into a school, for example.
Right.
That would normally be a reason.
Okay.
I just asked him, why would you need this, and he said,
Again, that's just my assumption.
I think it's just like an honor thing. You put in 20 years as an officer.
So he's not
Because
retired.
him and I were both,
No, he
like,
is not.
did we miss that?
No, he is not. I think that they've been giving retired officers these badges, because it wasn't done for a while.
Only one other one I saw was Forrest. Keister got his,
Okay.
but there may have been others.
Okay. We have a service award tomorrow morning.
Yes.
Okay. That's all I have.
Public comment?
I'm good.
Okay. We'll close meeting. Thank you.
That's one way to do it, Jeff.
I guess the question is, what do you think?
And Jerry retired, so he had never used that, so he used it on town meeting.
Harder, send those out for bid and get actually bid.
To the hit time, to the hit time frame.
Because there's all kinds of construction issues.
Correct.
Asphalt.
Yes.
You have a season.
Yeah, you have a season, correct, and the bad part about pushing everything back, crunching it down, is that we're gonna have 92 counties plus all the cities and towns that will possibly apply. So 40 million, 100 million, whatever they decide to award, all being bid close to the same time. That's what that's where the problems go on. It's not our end that we get it done, it's getting it through this and out. That's where the problem is.
So you guys, when you look at these, when you make a determination on what they're going to use this money for, above and beyond.
This is our normal maintenance, we use this by the paving, but our community crossing our paving for long term.
I don't think you can.
So
do both
that's,
sides.
these are big job.
See the planes, or you don't even.
So you say a big job, you say they had a large area.
Longer road, longer stretch.
For a bigger project, construction or such.
Mhm.
So,